Chapter 3289. 10,000 Swords Immortal Slaying Technique. The woman who was submerged in the black fog could not help but shout coldly. Then, endless sword chi surged between heaven and earth. The densely packed sword chi shot out horizontally and vertically. It was very powerful. The woman's cultivation was also very powerful, and she was very good at sword techniques. The sword technique she displayed was an extremely terrifying one. It was very powerful. It was so terrifying that it made one's countenance change. When the sword chi swept out, one after another, the sword chi swept out. Clanging sounds could be heard one after another. The mysterious creature in the black fog was making a move to resist the woman's sword technique. Whoosh! The woman turned into a bolt of lightning and quickly rushed outside. In the blink of an eye, she disappeared into the horizon. Her speed was too fast. "Chase! Don't let her escape!" A gloomy voice came from the black fog. Then, the black fog quickly rushed out. It chased after the woman. What exactly does that woman have? That woman's cultivation is very powerful. Therefore, I think that the thing on her is definitely an extraordinary treasure. Let's go and take a look. Maybe we can fish in troubled waters. The battle just now alarmed many people who came out to watch. Some cultivators said. Greed stirred in their hearts. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Then, many cultivators directly rushed into the sky. They quickly flew into the distance. They were as fast as lightning. Soon, they disappeared without a trace. Is it the black fog race? Duzu could not help but say. He thought of the black fog race, a race that transcended eras. This black fog race was actually quite a special race, because among the races that transcended eras, the black fog race was the race with the most people, and they had many branches. Although the combat power of the black fog race's cultivators was not as good as other cultivators who transcended eras. However, after all, the black fog race had more people. With such a huge base, there was bound to be a top-notch expert. Lin Feng said it should be the Black Mist race. Now that the end of the epic has arrived, the 5 signs of heavenly decay have appeared. These races that have transcended epics have also appeared. I wonder what these people are plotting. These guys are cunning and cunning. Furthermore, their methods are extremely powerful. We have to be cautious. The evil dominator saint said, in the evening of the second day, the beautiful woman sent someone to pick up Lin Feng. Du Zhu, the heretic sovereign sage, and the 2 ghost emperors stayed behind. As for what they would do at night, Lin Feng wouldn't worry about it. The beautiful woman's residence was not in the 100 Music Pavilion. She had a large courtyard in the ancient city of planet Lanzhou. Lin Feng had long felt that the beautiful woman's identity was not simple. Now, it seemed that the beautiful woman's identity was just as he had guessed. She was not simple at all. Moreover, Lin Feng didn't think that the beautiful woman invited him because she really wanted to flirt with him. He felt that the beautiful woman had invited him over for another reason. Lin Feng didn't know what the beautiful woman's goal was. Under the guidance of a servant girl, Lin Feng passed through many courtyards and finally arrived at a courtyard in the depths. There were many flowers planted in this courtyard. The fragrance of the flowers permeated the air, and it was very pleasant. The sound of a zither could be heard from the room, and it was very pleasant to the ears. The beautiful woman was truly multi-talented. Lin Gongzi, please come in. The servant girl said respectfully from outside. She had no intention of entering with him. Clearly, she had received instructions from the beautiful woman. Lin Feng nodded and walked into the room. The beautiful woman's room was very elegantly decorated. It was obvious that the beautiful woman was a woman who paid attention to the details of her life. Currently, She was dressed in white, and she was gently playing the zither in front of her. It added an otherworldly aura to her. Lin Feng sat at the side and listened to the zither quietly. When the zither stopped playing, the beautiful woman stood up and asked with a sweet smile, "This song is called the Immortal Song. It's just that this servant's attainments in the zither aren't particularly profound, so I wasn't able to play the beautiful part of this song." Lin Feng smiled and said, "Fairy is too modest. Fairy's achievements in the zither have already reached perfection. In my opinion, even the zither empress of the 100 Music Pavilion is far inferior to you. Young master really knows how to make people happy," said the beautiful woman while smiling. Then she poured a cup of tea for Lin Feng. Then the beautiful woman said, "I heard that there was a big battle at young master's residence late last night." Lin Feng nodded and said, "That's right. It's a group of unknown cultivators who are attacking a white-clothed woman. That white-clothed woman's identity is not simple," the beautiful woman said. "Oh, her identity is not simple? Fairy knows that white-clothed woman?" Lin Feng asked in surprise. "I don't know her. However, I heard that the white-clothed woman's origins are very mysterious. She appeared several times and seemed to be searching for something. Back then, many experts made a move against her, but they were all killed by her in the end," the beautiful woman said. After hearing the beautiful woman's words, Lin Feng couldn't help but be slightly surprised. He hadn't thought that there would be such a story. That white-clothed woman seemed to have obtained something, so she was surrounded and attacked. Lin Feng said, "That white-clothed woman will appear at tomorrow's trade fair." The beautiful woman said, "Why do you say that?" Lin Feng asked. "That white-clothed woman appeared at the previous trade fairs," the beautiful woman said. "Did she sell or buy anything?" Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. The beautiful woman said, "She sold or bought many things, but she seemed to be hiding it from others. She didn't want others to know what her ultimate goal was." After hearing the beautiful woman's words, Lin Feng became even more curious about the white-clothed woman's identity. "Lin Gongzi, where do you plan to travel through space to?" the beautiful woman asked. Lin Feng said, "The undying world." The beautiful woman said, "The undying world is a long journey, and the starry sky world is constantly changing. Many times, even if you have the ancient starry sky map, you can still lose your way." Lin Feng said, "I hope I can try my luck. What if I can reach the undying world?" He. The beautiful woman giggled. With Lin Gongzi's means, if he wants to find the undying world, he will definitely be able to find it. This humble woman has heard of Lin Gongzi's great name for a long time. Lin Feng understood the meaning behind the beautiful woman's words. In addition, Planet Lanzhou was a planet with life that was relatively close to the 9 states' great world. Therefore, Lin Feng felt that the beautiful woman probably already knew his identity. Lin Feng couldn't help but raise his eyebrows slightly. Chapter 3290. Cooperation? What kind of cooperation do you want? Lin Feng could not help but look at the beautiful woman with great interest. He. Of course, it's a good thing. It's a great thing that will benefit you greatly, the beautiful woman said with a smile. Lin Feng did not interrupt and waited for the beautiful woman to continue. The beautiful woman said, "I heard that Lin Gongzi is the successor of the Celestial Master sect. A few years ago, our 100 Music Pavilion discovered a mysterious place. That place is densely covered with restrictions. We have tried many times to break the restrictions and enter, but the restrictions are too strong. We have lost many Spirit Array Masters and still have not been able to open the restrictions. However, if Lin Gongzi joins us, we will be like a tiger that has grown wings. we will definitely be able to open the restrictions. Lin Feng raised his eyebrows slightly and said, "When did you recognize my identity?" "In the beginning, I wasn't able to recognize young Master Lin's identity. However, I saw that young Master Lin was generous with his money and knew that he wasn't an ordinary person. Thus, I asked around and found out young Master Lin's identity." The beautiful woman said, "It seems that your 100 Music Pavilions connections are quite big. You can even find out about me." Lin Feng could not help but say, the 100 Music Pavilion was somewhat similar to Jojo's Wanhua building. On the surface, it was a brothel. In fact, it was an extremely powerful force. The beautiful women were just tools used by the 100 Music Pavilion to win over the strong. The beautiful woman said, "To tell you the truth, our 100 Music Pavilion is one of the top forces in the starry sky world. On many planets with life, there are branches of our 100 Music Pavilion. Therefore, our 100 Music Pavilion is very well informed." After hearing the beautiful woman's words, Lin Feng was very surprised. He originally thought that the 100 Music Pavilion's sphere of influence was on Lanzhou planet. However, now he knew he had underestimated the strength of the 100 Music Pavilion. Lin Feng asked calmly, "It seems that you have an extraordinary background in the 100 Music Pavilion, right?" The beautiful woman said, "I don't have an extraordinary identity. However, there is a deputy chief pavilion master in the 100 Music Pavilion who is my aunt." Lin Feng could not help but roll his eyes. The vice chief pavilion master of the 100 Music Pavilion was the beautiful woman's aunt. The beautiful woman actually said that she didn't have any extraordinary background. Then what would be considered an extraordinary background? Asked Lin Feng. "What kind of place is it?" Asked Lin Feng. "I heard that place is called the Stone State." The beautiful woman said, "The Stone State? What is this place?" Lin Feng asked in surprise. He had never heard of the Stone State the beautiful woman spoke of. It's said that back in the day, an extremely terrifying being from the Stone tribe built an ancient kingdom. This kingdom once dominated the starry sky world, and even the 3 paramount realms didn't dare to provoke it. This country is the Stone State. The beautiful woman said. Lin Feng said in shock, "There's actually such a powerful country? What happened to the Stone State after that?" "I'm not sure. However, I heard that one day a rain of blood fell from the sky, and something strange happened. The Stone State disappeared. Even the life-bearing planet that the Stone State was on disappeared." The beautiful woman said. "Oh, there's such a thing?" Lin Feng was very surprised. He suddenly recalled the scene when Yuan Beixian had disappeared. At that time, a rain of blood had also fallen. After that, Yuan Beixian disappeared. Yuan Beixian's disappearance was too similar to the Stone State's disappearance. He wondered if there was a connection between the two. Lin Feng felt that a trip to the Stone State was imperative. Perhaps he could explore the Stone State. Perhaps he could find some clues there. The beautiful woman said, "The Stone State's disappearance was accurately recorded in the Tao scriptures passed down by many factions. That's why it's so accurate." "How did you discover the Stone State?" Lin Feng asked curiously. Back then, some things were spread out in the Stone State. One of them was a stone compass. It was obtained by an elder of our 100 Music Pavilion. A few years ago, that elder discovered that the stone compass, which had never been touched, had begun to move. With the help of that stone compass, in the end, he found the Stone State's location. Lin Feng asked, "Where is the Stone State?" "Somewhere in the Storm Star region." The beautiful woman said. The Storm Star region. It was shrouded in endless storms all year round. That place was extremely dangerous. If a great emperor entered that place and encountered a devastating storm, it was possible for them to die there. Although the Storm Star region was fraught with danger, it was said that there were many ancient battlefields there. Thus, there were many fortuitous encounters there. Despite knowing that it was a place fraught with danger, many people would go there every year in search of fortuitous encounters. Of course, every year, countless people died tragically in the Storm Star field. However, this did not stop the enthusiasm of countless cultivators. Cultivators were born with the spirit of adventure. Otherwise, the saying, "fortune comes from danger," wouldn't have spread so widely in the world of cultivators. Not only was the Storm Star region dangerous, but it was also extremely large. The beautiful woman did not tell Lin Feng exactly where the Stone State's ruins were in the Storm Star region. Thus, even if he knew that the Stone State's ruins were in the Storm Star region without the beautiful woman and the others leading the way, it would be impossible for him to find the Storm Star region. Lin Feng asked, "When do you plan to go?" 7 days later, the beautiful woman said. "No problem." Lin Feng nodded. He then said, "If there are any treasures, I want to pick one first." "Of course. When the time comes, I won't mistreat you," the beautiful woman said with a smile. Lin Feng said with a smile, "We're almost done talking. The night is still young. Shouldn't we do something else now?" The beautiful woman giggled and said, "Lin Gongzi is a gentleman. I know that Lin Gongzi is joking." Lin Feng smiled, then stood up and walked outside. He already knew that the beautiful woman seemed frivolous. In fact, it was just a facade. Deep down, the beautiful woman was a conservative woman. Naturally, she would not do anything out of line. The next day, the beautiful woman sent someone to pick up Lin Feng and bring him to the trade fair. Du Zhu, the evil sovereign sage, and the two ghost emperors also went together. The trade fair was located on the 7th floor of the 100 Joy Pavilion. When Lin Feng and the others arrived, there were already dozens of cultivators in the private room. Many of the cultivators had powerful auras. Clearly, their cultivation was extremely powerful. The arrival of Lin Feng's group of 5 attracted a lot of attention. "Lin Gongzi, you're here. Please take a seat." Seeing Lin Feng's arrival, the beautiful woman personally came to welcome Lin Feng. This surprised many people. They did not expect that Lin Feng, a young human cultivator who had not even entered the Great Emperor realm, would receive such treatment. Chapter 32, 91. Some people were secretly asking the cultivators around them if they knew Lin Feng's background. However, none of the cultivators here knew Lin Feng. Lin Feng was very famous in the 9 prefectures back then. Many people had seen Lin Feng before, including the 10,000 clans and foreign cultivators. Many people had seen Lin Feng. However, those people had already been buried in the fertile land of the 9 prefectures. Only a very small number of them had managed to escape. However, the starry sky world was vast and boundless. The chances of meeting Lin Feng again were too small. "Thank you, Fairy." Lin Feng smiled slightly. Then he sat down with Du Zhu, the evil dominator saint, and the 2 ghost emperors. Cultivators arrived one after another. They were all received by the beautiful woman. The beautiful woman's name was Su Jiaomei. This name was very similar to her temperament. More and more cultivators arrived. These cultivators came from various star fields in the starry sky world. There were many races that Lin Feng had never heard of. Seeing the cultivators arriving one after another, Lin Feng had been looking for a figure. It was the mysterious female cultivator he had seen before. Lin Feng had always been curious about what the mysterious female cultivator had obtained. Why did she attract the attention of the Black Fog race's experts? Although the Black Fog race's cultivators were not as strong as before, this race was still extremely powerful. Any race that could transcend epochs was not to be underestimated. Their strength had reached an unimaginable level. Not long after, a young master arrived, surrounded by a myriad of stars. Young Master Longyuting. This person is from the demonic dragon clan. Demonic dragon clan? The demonic dragon clan from the demonic dragon Starfield? That's right. It's that force. Longyuting cultivated for 240,000 years and broke through to the Emperor realm on his 80,000th birthday. Now that more than 100,000 years have passed, his cultivation must have reached an unfathomable level. In the demonic dragon clan, this person's status is extremely extraordinary. Some of the cultivators in the surroundings began to discuss. Lin Feng was no stranger to the Demon Dragon Star area. Back in Lulan Island, Lin Feng had met Sun Tianwei, Lan Chaoyang, Nangong Qingwan, and Ouyang Zixue from the Devil Dragon Star area. These people were the young masters and young ladies of the influential families in the Demon Dragon Star area. The forces behind them were extremely powerful. However, the forces behind them couldn't be compared to the Demon Dragon clan in the Demon Dragon Star area. The Demon Dragon clan was a giant force in the Demon Dragon Star area. It was somewhat similar to the status of the supreme immortal sect in the Nine Regions' great world. It was fully deserving of the title of the strongest force. From the fact that the star field was named after the Demon Dragon clan, one could see the extraordinary status of the Demon Dragon clan in the Demon Dragon star field. Many people came forward to greet Longyuting. Longyuting, on the other hand, nodded indifferently at those people, even though Longyuting's expression was cold and indifferent. However, this did not extinguish the fire in the hearts of many cultivators. If he could befriend someone like Longyuting, naturally, it would be of great help in the future. Of course, not everyone went to curry favor with Longyuting. Many people still looked like they were watching a show. At this trade fair, there were crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Not long after Longyuting arrived, another group of people came. The one in the lead was still a cultivator who looked like a young master. This cultivator had a huge scar on his face. That scar, it was as sinister and terrifying as a centipede. Xie Duanhuan, the fifth young master of the demon bandits. After seeing the person who came, many cultivators frowned slightly. This cultivator, called Xie Duanhuan, had an extremely terrifying background. His father was the leader of the demon bandits, and the demon bandits was a famous bandit group in the Starry Sky world. In the Starry Sky world, there were countless bandit groups like grains of sand in the Milky Way. However, the Demon Bandits was ranked 17th among the top 100 bandit groups. This bandit group not only had a large number of people, the most important thing was that this bandit group had many experts. It was said that there were dozens of great emperor-level experts. The leader of the Demon Bandits was a peak imperial emperor. However, there was also news that the leader of the Demon Bandits was an expert that surpassed the imperial emperor level. Of course, as for what realm he was at, perhaps only the people of the Demon Bandits knew. What? Are you not going to welcome me? The corner of Xie Duanhuan's mouth curled up into a sinister expression. Many people's expressions were gloomy as they ignored Xie Duanhuan, because many of the cultivators present had their relatives, friends, or fellow sect members robbed by the Demon Bandits. These cultivators naturally did not have a good impression of the Demon Bandits. He, how can we not welcome young Master Xie? For young Master Xie to be able to participate in this trade fair, I represent the 100 Music Pavilion to express our most sincere welcome, the beautiful woman said with a smile. Fairy Sue's words are still pleasant to hear. Xie Duanhuan's eyes fiercely scraped towards the beautiful woman's enchanting body. The beautiful woman smiled and said, "Young Master Xia, please take a seat. It won't be long before the trade fair begins." Xia Duanhuan nodded and found a place to sit down. After Xia Duanhuan arrived, a few more experts from the top forces came one after another. All of them were like stars surrounding the moon. It seemed that this trade fair had indeed attracted a large number of cultivators. In addition to the attraction of the trade fair itself, many people were probably attracted by the mysterious item that was circulating in the battlefield of gods. That item, it was absolutely extraordinary. It was a rare treasure. Not long after, a woman arrived. Her clothes were as white as snow. Her face was covered with a veil. When the woman arrived, everyone's gaze was attracted to her. That woman seemed to have a very special temperament, to be able to become the focus of everyone. It's her. After seeing that woman, Lin Feng's eyes could not help but light up slightly. It was the woman he had been waiting for. The woman who was besieged by the black fog race cultivators. Her identity was very mysterious. Even the beautiful woman did not know her identity. This woman seemed to have appeared out of thin air. This aroused Lin Feng's curiosity. After this woman arrived, many people came one after another. There were also many experts. The standard of this trade fair was relatively high. Either they had an extraordinary background, or were powerful, or they had a relationship with the upper echelons of the 100 Music Pavilion to be able to participate in this trade fair. It seems that I'm not too late. At this moment, a sinister voice came from outside the private room. Then, more than 20 people rushed into the private room. This group of people included both men and women, all of whom had extraordinary strength. This group of cultivators was led by a thin cultivator. The thin cultivator took the lead and entered the private room. People from the Sun Moon Tribe. Chapter 3292. The Sun Moon Tribe was definitely one of the strongest forces in the starry sky world. The Sun Moon Tribe was a powerful force that had been passed down from the innate realm. Hence, they were extremely terrifying. The talents of this force were also extremely strong. The Sun Moon bloodline was one of the strongest bloodlines in history. In many great eras, many experts had appeared in the Sun Moon Tribe. Even now, the Sun Moon Tribe had the strongest experts, and no one dared to underestimate the strength of the Sun Moon Tribe. Whoever dared to underestimate the Sun Moon Tribe, they were courting death. It's young Master Yin. Welcome, young Master Yin, to the trade fair organized by the 100 Music Pavilion. Seeing the Sun Moon Tribe cultivator, the beautiful lady smiled. Obviously, the beautiful lady knew this Sun Moon Tribe cultivator. This Sun Moon Tribe cultivator is called Yin Xian Kuen. He is a direct descendant of the Sun Moon Tribe. The Sun Moon Tribe is rather mysterious, so no one knows which Sun Moon Tribe cultivator's ancestor is. Someone said the Sun Moon Tribe was a powerful force. Naturally, there was more than one bloodline. The Sun Moon Tribe was divided into 7 main bloodlines. The direct descendants of the 7 main bloodlines were all direct descendants of the Sun Moon Tribe. It has been a few hundred years since I last saw you. You are still as elegant as ever. Yin Xian Kuen said with a smile. Ha! Thank you for your compliment. Please take a seat. The beautiful lady said with a smile. Yin Xian Kuen nodded and was about to find a place to sit. He saw Lin Feng sitting in the room. Then he said sarcastically, "Why? Is there a human cultivator participating in such a high-class gathering? A lowly race like you doesn't have the right to participate in such a high-class gathering." After hearing Yin Xian Kuen's words, many people's spirits were lifted. Obviously, the target of Yin Xian Kuen's sarcasm was Lin Feng, because There was only one human cultivator in the room, Lin Feng. Previously, many people had seen how the beautiful lady was very friendly towards Lin Feng. These cultivators knew that although Lin Feng was a human cultivator, however, he probably had an extraordinary background as well. Although the human race was weak now, however, this did not mean that there were no powerful human forces. Lin Feng said faintly, "You keep saying that other people's races are lowly races, but what about your own race? Don't be too full of yourself. You're just a frog in a well. Are you refuting me? Do you have the right to refute?" Yin Xian Kun laughed coldly as he looked at Lin Feng. The human race was indeed strong in the past, but now the human race's bloodline was no longer strong, so the human race's power was on the decline. So what if they were strong in the past? If their bloodline deteriorates, they will become a lowly race destined to become a stepping stone for others on the path of cultivation. Aren't you afraid of biting your tongue if you speak so confidently? I can vaguely feel that your sun-moon bloodline is not particularly strong. My guess is that although you are a direct descendant of the sun-moon tribe, you are probably one of the weakest direct descendant disciples. With so few people awakening their great Yin bloodline, they shouldn't be valued by the clan, right? Lin Feng said sarcastically, "What are you trying to say?" Yin Xian Kun's face grew colder and colder. Lin Feng's guess was right. Although Yin Xian Kun was a member of the Sun Moon tribe, because of his bloodline, he was not valued by the Sun Moon tribe. I'm guessing that you must have been discriminated against in the Sun Moon tribe since you were young. You are a big clan, and the fighting is fierce. What kinship is there to speak of? Furthermore, I'm guessing that you must have been bullied by many clan members since you were young, right? Are there a lot of people who call you trash? It is precisely because of the humiliation that you have suffered since you were young that your personality was twisted. You were not valued in the Sun Moon tribe, and thus you ran outside to use the Sun Moon tribe's reputation to intimidate others. However, what can you do even if you flaunt your strength? Trash will always be trash. When you return to the Sun Moon tribe, you will still be that trash who is not valued by the clan. Lin Feng's lips curled into a cold smile. His words could be said to strike at the heart with every word. Lin Feng felt that his guess was not far from the truth. It was easy to predict the fights between big clans. You are digging your own grave. Yin Xian Kun clenched his fists tightly as a murderous glint flashed across his eyes. You still don't want to admit that you are trash? Now that you are so angry, it proves that my guess is correct. You don't have to hide your identity anymore. Trash of the Sun Moon tribe. Lin Feng curled his lips as he spoke. Many cultivators in the room twitched their mouths. Lin Feng's words were like a knife that stabbed into Yin Xian Kun's heart. One knife after another stabbed into Yin Xian Kun's body. Looking at Yin Xian Kun's face, one could tell how angry he was. Many people were shocked. They had not expected Lin Feng to offend Yin Xian Kun. Yin Xian Kun was a member of the Sun Moon tribe. As the saying goes, one has to look at the owner before beating a dog. Furthermore, Yin Xian Kun was a direct descendant of the Sun Moon tribe. Although Yin Xian Kun was not valued in the clan, that was only in comparison. Compared to the top geniuses among the direct descendants, Yin Xian Kun was naturally not valued. However, compared to many of the branch descendants, Yin Xian Kun was still valued. After all, his status was still there. Moreover, Yin Xian Kun represented the Sun Moon tribe outside. Offending Yin Xian Kun, it was no different from offending the Sun Moon tribe. However, Lin Feng had offended Yin Xian Kun. After mocking Yin Xian Kun, the hatred between the two sides was completely formed. "Brat, you have thoroughly angered me. Have you thought about how you want to die?" Yin Xian Kuan waved his hand, and a group of people immediately surrounded Lin Feng. They wanted to surround and attack Lin Feng. If I said you are trash, you are trash. If I were you, I would have done it myself after being humiliated like this. Only trash like you would let others do it for you. However, the people around you are also trash. I can't be bothered to do it myself. Now, I will give you trash a chance. Kneel on the ground and slap yourselves 10 times each. Then get out. Otherwise, it will not be easy for you to leave in one piece. Lin Feng said calmly. His words could be said to be extremely arrogant. One had to know, Yin Xian Kuan had 3 great emperors on his side. As for the others, they were all quasi-emperors. With so many experts working together, their combat strength was terrifying. Lin Feng did not take Yin Xian Kuan and the rest seriously. He was extremely arrogant. You are courting death. How dare you be so arrogant in front of me? You are seeking your own death. Attack. Cripple this brat for me. This young master will torture him later. Chapter 3293. Don't worry, young Master Yin. We will capture this brat and let young Master Yin vent your anger. One of the great emperors said. This great emperor was a cultivator that Yin Xian Kuan had met outside. Now that chaos had arrived, battles raged everywhere. Even great emperors could fall here. As such, these great emperor-level experts also wanted to befriend some of the major forces. With the protection of the major forces, things were different. For example, the demon bandits had dozens of great emperors. These dozens of great emperors seemed to be a lot. However, one had to know, the boundless starry sky world was boundlessly huge. The 9 continents world was just a drop in the ocean in the starry sky world. As such, in such a vast starry sky world, it was normal for there to be many great emperors. The 17th ranked bandit group in the starry sky world only had dozens of great emperors. Compared to the vast starry sky world, such a high-ranked bandit group only had dozens of great emperors. In fact, there were not many of them. Why did these great emperors join the bandit group? There were 2 main reasons. The first reason, the bandit group constantly robbed the cultivators of their treasures. They would even attack many life planets and steal all kinds of treasures. After joining the bandit group, it was easy to obtain many treasures. The second reason, chaos had arrived. Even these great emperors needed to form alliances. Only then could they live longer. Of course, there were also many who liked to join the top forces. A great emperor-level expert, no matter which top-notch force they joined, would never be defeated. They would be treated well. However, some great emperors did not like to be restricted. Hence, they were not willing to take this path. Those great emperors who did not want to be restricted often joined the bandit groups in the starry sky world. There were also some great emperors who formed alliances and helped each other. Hence, there were many different kinds of organizations in the starry sky world. These organizations were formed by the great emperors who did not want to be restricted and did not want to be bandits. The 3 great emperors who followed Yin Xian Kuan had joined the Sun Moon tribe through Yin Xian Kuan. Hence, these 3 great emperors were very obedient to Yin Xian Kuan. Moreover, following Yin Xian Kuan, the 3 great emperors had gained many benefits. Facing the siege of so many powerhouses, Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. He didn't even move. Du Zhu, the evil dominator sage, and the 2 ghost emperors were present. There was no need for Lin Feng to do anything. Reckless fool, you even dare to offend our young master. Are you all blind? Du Zhu sneered. He quickly rushed out. The great emperors of the 9 prefectures were much stronger than the great emperors of other worlds. Furthermore, The three great emperors around Yin Xian Kun were only in the god-emperor realm. Naturally, it was impossible for them to contend against Du Zhu and the others, even with the addition of a group of quasi-emperor level cultivators. They were far from being able to contend against Du Zhu and the others. Boom! A terrifying aura spread out. Du Zhu and the other three stopped concealing their cultivation levels and directly released their powerful auras. Great Emperor! For great emperors, many people couldn't help but exclaim. Some great emperors with high cultivation levels might be able to sense the cultivation levels of Du Zhu and the others. However, ordinary great emperors and some quasi-emperor level cultivators couldn't sense the cultivation levels of Du Zhu and the others. Therefore, when Du Zhu and the others released their great emperor's auras, many people were shocked. Bang, bang, bang. Kacha, kacha. This was accompanied by a series of dull sounds of collision and the sound of bones cracking. One cultivator after another was sent flying by Du Zhu and the others. These cultivators couldn't even withstand a single blow from Du Zhu, the evil dominator sage, and the two ghost emperors. Even the three great emperors couldn't withstand the attacks of Du Zhu and the others. One by one, they were beaten until they vomited blood and were thrown out. Those four great emperors are the followers of that human brat. That human brat actually brought four such powerful great emperors with him. Who exactly is he? Many cultivators looked at Lin Feng with puzzled expressions. They increasingly felt that Lin Feng might have a great background. Or else, how could he have four great emperors by his side as his followers? I've never heard of such a person before. Although the top factions of the human race do have them, they're too rare to be seen often. He's full of mystery. That's why that young master's identity is even more confusing. Another cultivator said. He was still trying to guess Lin Feng's identity, but he had no clue. Some people whispered to the beautiful woman. However, the beautiful woman only smiled and didn't tell them Lin Feng's identity. Without Lin Feng's permission, the beautiful woman wouldn't reveal Lin Feng's identity. Du Zhu and the others surrounded Yin Xian Kun. Yin Xian Kun's expression was extremely gloomy. Yin Xian Kun's cultivation level was the same as Lin Feng's. They were both at the 99th level of the quasi-emperor realm. Although they were at the same level, Yin Xian Kun's strength was far inferior to Lin Feng's. Lin Feng had reached his current level by stepping on the bones of the dead. Yin Xian Kun, on the other hand, had accumulated all sorts of cultivation resources. His own fighting strength. Naturally, he couldn't compare to Lin Feng. Let me tell you, if you dare to touch me, the Sun Moon tribe will not let you off. Yin Xian Kun said darkly. He had specifically mentioned the Sun Moon tribe. He wanted Lin Feng and the others to be wary of the Sun Moon tribe. The Sun Moon tribe was indeed powerful, but Lin Feng didn't care. The starry sky was vast and boundless. It wouldn't be easy for the Sun Moon tribe to deal with him. Pa! Poison Ancestor slapped Yin Xian Kun and scolded loudly, "Brat! So, what if you're from the Sun Moon tribe? Do you think we're afraid of you? You dare to hit me?" Yin Xian Kun looked at Du Zhu in disbelief. "Don't waste your breath on him. Break his limbs and throw him out," Lin Feng said calmly. Many people sucked in a breath of cold air. Everyone had a better understanding of Lin Feng's character. He was truly a fearless person. Breaking Yin Xian Kun's limbs would offend the Sun Moon tribe. However, Lin Feng wasn't afraid at all. Did he not care about the threat of the Sun Moon tribe at all? "You dare?" Yin Xian Kun shouted in fear. In the next instant, Du Zhu slapped Yin Xian Kun. Yin Xian Kun quickly reacted and exchanged blows with Du Zhu. However, he wasn't a match for Du Zhu. His arm was instantly broken by Du Zhu. Yin Xian Kuan was sent flying. Du Zhu rushed forward and broke Yin Xian Kuan's limbs. Chapter 3294. A direct descendant of the Sun Moon tribe was beaten half to death and thrown out of the 100-Joy Pavilion. Many people were shocked by what they saw. As for Yin Xian Kuan's followers, they scrambled to get out of the room. They did not dare to stay in the pavilion for another minute. Almost everyone is here. We can start the trade fair now, the beautiful lady said. Everyone was shocked when they heard that the trade fair was about to begin. Someone said impatiently, "Fairy, is it time to take out the item that was passed down from the battlefield of the gods? Let us broaden our horizons." The beautiful lady said, "Don't be impatient. The senior who has the treasure has not appeared yet. Let's wait for the trade fair to continue. When the senior appears, he will take out the treasure to trade with everyone." Everyone nodded when they heard this. Such a high-class trade fair was basically a barter trade fair. Therefore, it was important to prepare many top-grade treasures to participate in such a trade fair. Or else, it was very likely that they would not obtain anything from such a high-class trade fair. Such examples were quite common. Boom! A terrifying aura spread out. It turned out that a cultivator had taken out a treasure, and the terrifying aura was emitted from that treasure. The treasure was a jade white lion. That jade white lion actually had 12 pairs of wings. No one knew what kind of creature it was. Once the jade white lion is activated, it can turn into a living creature of flesh and blood. The owner of the jade white lion was a burly old man called Old Man Yun. He was a famous rogue cultivator in the starry sky world. His strength was unfathomable. As soon as Old Man Yun finished speaking, he pointed at the jade white lion. Roar! A deep roar was suddenly heard. The jade white lion turned into a lion of flesh and blood. Its body was covered in green fur, and it looked ferocious. The 12 pairs of wings spread out and extended more than 10 meters. Many people were amazed that the jade white lion could turn into a living creature of its own accord. This was simply too inconceivable. Other than turning into a living creature, what other uses does the jade white lion have? A cultivator asked. He was very interested in the jade white lion. The jade white lion was indeed extraordinary. This aroused the interest of many people. Taoist Yun said, "Once the jade white lion is refined, it will become one with its master's mind and will be able to unleash 70% of its master's power, which is like refining a powerful clone. Plus, the jade white lion can travel through space. If you run into a powerful enemy, you can use its power to travel through space and get rid of your enemy." What a good white jade lion! This jade white lion, what would you like to exchange for? An old man asked. Many people looked at Old Man Dao Yun. The jade white lion was truly heaven-defying. Almost everyone present was moved. Even Lin Feng was tempted. If he could blood bond with the jade white lion, it would be like adding wings to a tiger. Exchange for a piece of chaos metal. Old Man Dao Yun said, "Chaos metal." Many people shook their heads when they heard this. Lin Feng had heard of chaos iron before, but he had never seen it before. Rumor had it that the chaos iron was an immortal iron that was born before the heavens and earth were created. This was the earliest immortal iron that was born between heaven and earth. It was even more valuable than chaos gems. It was too rare, even in the absolute beginning era, let alone now. It wasn't easy to find chaos iron. Rumor had it, if a thumb-sized piece of chaos iron was fused into a magic treasure, there was hope that the magic treasure would transform into an immortal artifact. Of course, Lin Feng didn't know if the rumor was true. That was because he had never seen chaos iron before. His understanding of chaos iron was limited. He had only seen or heard about it in legends. Of course, the heavens and earth were vast. Anything could happen. There might even be chaos iron in this world. Can I exchange for it with something else? Someone asked. They couldn't take out chaos iron. They wanted to exchange for it with Old Man Dao Yun. But Old Man Dao Yun shook his head and said, I only want chaos iron. The surroundings fell silent. Many people wanted to exchange for it, but they couldn't take out a supreme treasure like chaos iron. Naturally, they couldn't exchange for it with Old Man Dao Yun. I have chaos iron. A voice said. Everyone looked over. Lin Feng was shocked. It was the white-clothed woman who had been surrounded by the Black Mist tribe. She was very mysterious. He had heard from the beautiful woman that this white-clothed woman had appeared in the previous trade fairs, and she would buy or sell a lot of things every time. Now, this white-clothed woman could actually take out chaos iron. It was really shocking. Old Man Dao Yun's eyes lit up. The white-clothed woman took out a small piece of milky white immortal iron. The immortal iron was very small. It was about the size of a peanut. That's right. It's chaos iron. I'll exchange it with you. Old Man Dao Yun was extremely excited. Lin Feng guessed that Old Man Dao Yun wanted to upgrade his magic treasure. That was why he was so eager to find a supreme treasure like chaos iron. After completing the exchange, both sides sat down. Next, one by one, cultivators took out the treasures they had prepared in advance to trade, because it was a barter, so the success rate wasn't very high. Lin Feng had been watching from the side. That was because very few of the treasures that appeared could pique his interest. So Lin Feng didn't make a move. About 4 hours later, Lin Feng took out some of the treasures he had prepared. The first treasure that Lin Feng took out was a semi-finished Emperor weapon called the Heaven's Thunderblade. A semi-finished Emperor weapon was different from a Boundary Emperor weapon. A Boundary Emperor weapon was already formed. It was more difficult to evolve into an Emperor weapon. A semi-finished Emperor weapon had yet to be formed. So, as long as he found a suitable sacrificial method, it would be very easy to evolve into a real Emperor weapon. The second treasure that Lin Feng took out was an Earth Dragon Immortal Pill. It was an immortal pill. Although it was the most ordinary immortal pill, its value was immeasurable. It could improve a cultivator's physique and gradually develop the physique of the dragon race. One had to know that the dragon race's physique was extremely terrifying. It was one of the strongest physiques among the various races. It would be very heaven-defying. The third treasure that Lin Feng took out was the most precious. It was a piece of purple devil immortal iron. It was said that treasures made from purple devil immortal iron could eventually reach the level of a quasi-immortal artifact. Many people were shocked to see the 3 treasures that Lin Feng took out. Chapter 32:95. After Lin Feng took out the 3 treasures, they immediately attracted the attention of many people. Lin Feng introduced, "These are my 3 treasures. The first treasure is a semi-finished Emperor weapon made from 9 Heavens Thunder Iron. This semi-finished Emperor weapon is very close to becoming an Emperor weapon. For cultivators who cultivate Thunder attribute cultivation methods, this is definitely a divine ability that they can only dream of." After Lin Feng finished speaking, the eyes of several cultivators who cultivated Thunder attribute law suddenly lit up. Such a treasure was indeed very attractive to them. Lin Feng continued to introduce the second treasure. The second item is an elixir called the Earth Dragon Celestial Elixir. This is an immortal elixir. The Earth Dragon Celestial Elixir is made from the immortal herb, dragon bloodgrass, and thousands of spiritual herbs. Moreover, it is infused with earth dragon blood essence. Its value is unimaginable. As everyone knows, the dragon clan's physical body is very strong. After consuming the earth dragon celestial elixir, one's physical body can be tempered to the same level as the dragon clan's physical body. The earth dragon celestial elixir attracted even more people's attention. Many people could not help but breathe heavily. If one's physical body could become as strong as the dragon clan's, it would definitely be a great improvement. It would have a great effect on one's cultivation. Lin Feng continued to introduce the third treasure. The third treasure is a piece of purple demon immortal iron. I'm sure everyone has heard of this immortal iron. This magic treasure made from immortal iron can become a quasi-immortal artifact in the future. Its power is really unimaginable. Many people could not help but exclaim. The 3 items that Lin Feng took out to exchange were all priceless. What do you want to exchange for? An old man could not wait to ask. This was a great emperor-level expert. His aura was extremely powerful, and his cultivation could be described as unfathomable. Lin Feng said, I want to exchange the Heaven Thunderblade for 100 materials to cultivate immemorial ancestral insects, 100 materials to cultivate Emperor Archaic, and 100 materials to cultivate primitive demon refining insects. These materials are too precious. Moreover, he actually wants so much. Isn't he asking for too much? Someone said coldly. Lin Feng said faintly, It's my freedom to choose what price I want. It's your freedom to trade with me. No one is forcing you to buy. You. The expression of the cultivator, who was ridiculed by Lin Feng, suddenly sank. He looked at Lin Feng coldly. Primordial ancestral insect, Emperor Archaic, primitive demon, refining insect. These were all legendary divine and demonic insects, especially creatures like the Emperor Archaic. It was rumored that with a gentle flap of their wings, they could instantly annihilate everything within 100,000 miles. These creatures only appeared briefly in the primordial era, but they caused a huge commotion. You want to exchange for materials to nurture an Emperor Archaic? Do you have an Emperor Archaic on you? Asked Long Yuteng, looking at Lin Feng. Everyone looked at Lin Feng. Like Long Yuteng, they all suspected that Lin Feng might have an Emperor Archaic on him. Or else, Lin Feng had no need to exchange for materials to nurture an Emperor Archaic. Lin Feng nodded. That's right. I have an Emperor Archaic butterfly cub on me. When Lin Feng said that, many people in the private room gasped in astonishment. How about this? I have a wolf cub that was born from a blood demon wolf. Blood demon wolves are a terrifying race that can compete with dragons. I'll use this cub to exchange for your Emperor Archaic egg. Once we're done, we'll be friends. If you run into any problems in the starry sky realm that you can't solve, you can look for me. Long Yuteng said in an unquestionable tone. This kind of high and mighty attitude made Lin Feng raise his eyebrows slightly. He said indifferently, I'm not interested in making this deal with you. Kid, are you trying to be shameless when I'm giving you face? You should feel lucky that young Master Ting is willing to make a deal with you. Don't fail to appreciate his kindness. An Emperor Realm expert beside Long Yuteng said coldly. That Emperor Realm expert was actually an immortal Emperor Realm expert. Such an expert could be considered an expert in the Starry Sky realm. Moreover, that cultivator was a 5th layer immortal Emperor Realm expert. Therefore, even though Lin Feng had Du Zhu, Evil Sovereign Saint, 2 Ghost Emperors, and 4 Great Emperors, but this immortal Emperor Realm cultivator didn't care at all. Du Zhu and the other 3 were nothing in his eyes. Long Yuteng didn't say anything. Instead, he looked at all of this indifferently. He was born noble, and no one had ever dared to resist him. But now, Lin Feng actually dared to resist him. This made Long Yuding want to kill him. A dog dares to make a fuss here? Look after your own dog. Otherwise, who knows what will happen to this dog in the end? Lin Feng said indifferently. You dare to humiliate me like this? Kid, you're courting death. The immortal Emperor Realm Cultivator's face suddenly turned gloomy. Boom! A terrifying aura was emitted from his body. This immortal Emperor Realm Cultivator. It seemed like he wanted to kill Lin Feng. Seeing that this immortal Emperor Realm Cultivator was about to make a move, the beautiful woman hurriedly said, Fellow Taoist son, this is the trade fair held by the 100 Music Pavilion. Private fights are absolutely not allowed. Fellow Taoist son, please restrain yourself. Otherwise, we can only ask fellow Taoist son to leave. The beautiful woman stepped forward to protect Lin Feng. Naturally, it wasn't because she was concerned about Lin Feng's safety. It was mainly because the 100 Music Pavilion could use Lin Feng. Therefore, at this stage, Lin Feng couldn't be harmed. As for after using Lin Feng, whatever happened to Lin Feng had nothing to do with the 100 Music Pavilion. This immortal Emperor Realm expert was called Sun Yongtao. After hearing the beautiful woman's words, his face couldn't help but turn slightly ugly. Previously, the 4 great emperors on Lin Feng's side had beaten the group of people from the Sun Moon tribe half to death. The beautiful woman didn't appear. Now, she stepped forward to stop him. Obviously, she was biased towards Lin Feng. However, Sun Yongtao had to give the beautiful woman face. Although Sun Yongtao was now under the Demon Dragon clan, he still didn't dare to casually offend the powerful 100 Music Pavilion. Kid, you can only hide behind a woman and seek protection. However, I don't believe that the 100 Music Pavilion will always protect you. When the time comes, I'll take action. At that time, I'm looking forward to seeing you kneel in front of me like a dog and beg me to spare your life. Chapter 3296. Lin Feng looked at Sun Yongtao indifferently and said, I think you should be glad, because if you really attacked, you'd be a dead man now. After hearing Lin Feng's words, Sun Yongtao still wanted to say something, but at this time Long Yuding said, Brother Sun, there's no need to talk to this kid. There's no need to talk so much nonsense with a lowly cultivator who's going to die soon. That's right. The human race's bloodline has collapsed. Back then, they were just livestock raised by countless races. It's just that these livestock would sometimes recklessly jump around outside, so we'll just slaughter them. Sun Yongtao said. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent, and he didn't continue to pay attention to these two. If they really fought, Lin Feng was confident that he could kill these two. So, what if they were from the Demon Dragon race? He would still kill them, because Lin Feng's cultivation was that of a supreme cultivator. The supreme great Tao swept through everything in its path, sweeping everything before it. He would kill gods if they blocked him. He would kill them if they blocked him. If no one wants it, then the deal is over. Lin Feng said, I want the Heaven Thunderblade, but young master needs to wait for a while. I've already ordered people to gather the things young master wants as soon as possible. When the things arrive, we can immediately make the deal with young master. At this time, a female cultivator said. This female cultivator was dressed in purple and had a tall and alluring figure. She looked to be in her 20s. However, a cultivator's age couldn't be judged purely from their appearance. This female cultivator was definitely not just in her 20s. Because cultivators had a long lifespan, their appearance aged very slowly. Many female cultivators had taken face retaining pills or cultivated face retaining techniques. This made them even more youthful and alluring. It's lazy. Rumor has it that this woman is related to the primordial thunder god. Someone said. Lin Feng was slightly shocked. The primordial thunder god was a terrifying existence. His cultivation could be described as heaven-defying. The primordial thunder god's inheritance was extremely powerful. Back then, Lin Feng had obtained part of the primordial thunder god's inheritance. In the past, when the primordial dragon-esque elephant dominated the starry sky world, the primordial thunder god was one of the few existences that could contend with the dragon-esque elephant. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. Lei Zi was related to the ancient thunder god. Was she a descendant of the ancient thunder god? Perhaps. There really was such a possibility. Thinking of this, Lin Feng couldn't help but take a deep breath. He said, "All right, I'll wait for a while." Lei Zi nodded and did not say anything else. Lin Feng continued, "Everyone knows the value of the second treasure, the Earth Dragon Celestial Pill. I want to exchange this treasure for 20 types of 3,000 great Daos. Any one of the 3,000 great Daos can create a powerful sect. This is an unparalleled inheritance. Although the value of the Earth Dragon Immortal Pill is very high, it is too much to ask for 20 of the 3,000 great Daos." A cultivator said coldly. This cultivator wanted to trade with Lin Feng, but felt that Lin Feng's price was too high. That was why he said those words, and there were quite a few cultivators who said those words. Lin Feng said faintly, "Being expensive naturally has its benefits. No matter how precious the 3,000 great Daos are, it's not as important as improving your physical body. If you improve your physical body, you will find that many times, especially in some life and death battles, a powerful physical body can help you survive until the end." "I'll trade with you," a cultivator with a muscular body said. Wu Zhongshi. He's an expert from the Wu family, one of the 5 great body refinement families in the starry sky. Someone recognized that cultivator and couldn't help but exclaim. In the starry sky world, there were many body refinement families. Those body refinement families paid great attention to the cultivation of the physical body. Physical body cultivation. It was very painful. It was simply the greatest torture. But if one could achieve success in physical body cultivation, it would be extremely heaven-defying. Just like Lin Feng, he cultivated the immemorial dragon-esque elephant art, and his physical body surpassed that of a fiend god. In every battle, Lin Feng's powerful physical body played an extremely crucial role. So, cultivators couldn't just cultivate magic power. They also had to cultivate their physical body. It was just that cultivating the physical body was too difficult and painful, so many people couldn't persevere. This required painstaking cultivation from a young age. If one started cultivating the physical body halfway through, the effect would obviously not reach the desired effect. But those body refinement families were not like this. Those body refinement families, they began to nurture their disciples from a young age and began to cultivate their physical body. Therefore, their physical bodies were very powerful. This cultivator, called Wu Zhongshi, in front of him had an extremely powerful physical body. He took out a jade tube and imprinted the divine ability on it. Lin Feng sensed for a moment and found that he had never cultivated these divine abilities that Wu Zhongshi had imprinted. Lin Feng couldn't help but smile. "The Earth Dragon Immortal Pill belongs to you." Lin Feng handed the Earth Dragon Immortal Pill to Wu Zhongshi. Wu Zhongshi smiled and said, "Ha ha ha, thank you, little brother. Old Wu, I need a powerful immortal pill to help me break through the shackles. Now, I finally see the hope of advancing my physical body. Then I wish Brother Wu's physical body a breakthrough." Lin Feng smiled and cupped his fists. Then Lin Feng continued, "The third treasure, This is a material for forging a quasi-mortal artifact. Such a material can only be encountered by chance. So, everyone seize this opportunity. If you miss it, it won't be easy to encounter such an opportunity again. This piece of purple demon immortal iron. It requires 40 types of 3,000 great Tao to exchange. Many people looked at each other. 40 types of 3,000 great Tao was not a small number. Moreover, although some of the cultivators present cultivated many of the 3,000 great Tao, they all had powerful forces behind them. These 3,000 great Tao were not things that they could take out to exchange with Lin Feng. They could not exchange with Lin Feng just because they wanted to. If they took it out casually, they would be punished by the forces behind them. Therefore, some cultivators who wanted to exchange with Lin Feng could only sigh at this moment. Unless they obtained the 3,000 great Tao by chance, it had nothing to do with the forces behind them. These 3,000 great Tao could be exchanged. "I'll exchange with you," an old man said. "Sky Moon Elder." After seeing the old man who spoke, many people couldn't help but be shocked. Sky Moon Elder, one of the top itinerant cultivators in the starry sky world. It was said that Sky Moon Elder had lived for 20 million years, and 17 million years ago, he had already broken through to the Emperor realm. What was his cultivation level now? No one knew. He was definitely an ancient existence. Swoosh! A light flashed in Sky Moon Elder's hand. A jade tube appeared in his hand. Sky Moon Elder handed the jade tube to Lin Feng and said, "There are 40 types of 3,000 great Tao recorded in it. Check it. If there are no problems, the purple demon immortal iron will belong to me." Chapter 3297. Lin Feng checked the 40 types of 3,000 great ways that the Sky Moon Elder gave him. Then Lin Feng smiled. These 40 types of 3,000 great ways. They were all 3,000 great ways that he had never cultivated. There is no problem with the 3,000 great ways. This purple devil immortal iron belongs to you. Lin Feng handed the purple devil immortal iron to the Sky Moon Elder. The Sky Moon Elder nodded with a smile. Then he sat down. Lin Feng sat down too and started to study the 60 types of 3,000 great ways that he had just obtained. Lin Feng had already cultivated 518 types of 3,000 great ways, in addition to the 60 types of 3,000 great ways now. That was 578 types of 3,000 great ways. Every additional type of 3,000 great ways that he cultivated could greatly increase his strength. Therefore, now, Lin Feng couldn't wait to cultivate the 60 types of 3,000 great ways that he had just obtained. If he succeeded in cultivating these 60 types of 3,000 great ways, his battle strength would greatly increase again. However, Lin Feng knew that it wasn't the time to leave and cultivate these 3,000 great ways. There were still many good things that hadn't been taken out in the trade fair, especially the thing that had been passed down from the battlefield of gods. It hadn't appeared yet. One by one, treasures were taken out for trade. Du Zhu, the evil dominator Holy, and the two ghost emperors also traded with others for treasures that were beneficial to their cultivation. Lin Feng didn't participate in the trade fair anymore. "Mr. We have gathered everything. Please take a look." Halfway through the trade fair, Lei Ziyi came to Lin Feng's side and handed a storage ring to Lin Feng. "Okay." Lin Feng nodded. Then his divine thought entered the storage ring. The storage ring wasn't very big. It was only about a dozen cubic meters. Inside the storage ring, there were transparent glassware. Inside the glassware, there were all kinds of materials. These materials included the 300 types of materials that Lin Feng needed. 100 types of materials were used to cultivate the Archean ancestor worm. 100 types of materials were used to cultivate the emperor archaic. 100 types of materials were used to cultivate the great, desolate demon-refining insects. Seeing the materials, Lin Feng was delighted. With these materials, he would be able to properly nurture the emperor archaic, the primordial ancestor worm, and the primordial demon refinement broodmother. Presumably, the archaic ancestral worm and emperor archaic would be able to grow quickly. The prehistoric demon refining insect, queen, could also give birth to a large number of eggs. Lin Feng gave the heavenly thunder saber to Lei Zi. Lei Zi put away the sky thunderblade and quickly returned to her seat. One treasure after another was taken out to be traded. The woman in white bought a lot of things and also sold a lot of things. Lin Feng felt that the woman in white seemed to be collecting something, but he didn't find anything out of the ordinary. Halfway through the trade fair, the white-clothed woman left. It seems that she didn't come for the item that was spread in the battlefield of the gods. Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. The white-clothed woman's departure did not affect the trade fair. The trade fair was still very lively. "Everyone, I have a holy dragon fruit here. I wonder if anyone is interested in this item?" A middle-aged cultivator said with a smile. Then he took out a fruit. The fruit was sealed in a transparent glass container. Although it was just a fruit, it showed the shadow of a dragon. The dragon let out a long roar that shook the heavens and the earth. Holy dragon fruit. There really is such a thing. After seeing the holy dragon fruit, someone immediately exclaimed. Lin Feng was also very surprised. He had seen the holy dragon fruit in a Taoist scripture, so he knew how extraordinary the value of the holy dragon fruit was. The middle-aged cultivator said, "The holy dragon fruit is the rarest treasure of heaven and earth. It's rumored, if the holy dragon fruit tree wants to bear fruit, it must absorb the holy dragon blood essence." Holy dragon. It was a type of dragon. It was said that the bloodline of the holy dragon was almost comparable to that of the true dragon. However, the holy dragon was too rare. It belonged to the legendary dragon race. Many people even thought that the holy dragon was a fictional race. In the real world, there was no such thing as the holy dragon fruit. Of course, it didn't matter if it was real or not. The value of the holy dragon fruit was unimaginable. The holy dragon fruit had a great effect on the dragon race. It could greatly increase the dragon race's physical body, soul, and bloodline. Cultivators outside of the dragon race were not allowed to consume the holy dragon fruit. This was because the medicinal power of the holy dragon fruit was too overbearing, and it was specially targeted at the dragon race. The effect on other races was not obvious. Moreover, not only would the other races not be able to increase their strength after consuming the holy dragon fruit, it was very likely that the holy dragon fruit would harm their bodies. It could be said that the gains did not make up for the losses. This holy dragon fruit, I want to exchange for 3 immortal medicines that are over 1,000,000 years old. The middle-aged cultivator said, spiritual medicines that were over 100,000 years old were already extremely rare, let alone immortal medicines that were over 1,000,000 years old. That was a spiritual medicine that could be used to refine immortal pills. Even if someone obtained it, they wouldn't easily take it out. Not to mention 3 of them. At this moment, Lin Feng discovered that the dragon egg in the mountain river ring was emitting a violent fluctuation. Eat, eat, eat. Xiaolong's voice rang out in Lin Feng's mind. Although Xiaolong had not yet hatched, it was already able to communicate with Lin Feng. This little fellow was just like before, a complete glutton. The holy dragon fruit was obviously very useful to Xiaolong. Therefore, Xiaolong could not wait to devour the holy dragon fruit. Wait patiently. Soon, I will exchange the holy dragon fruit. Then, I will let you have a good meal. Lin Feng transmitted to Xiaolong. The little fellow was intelligent, and after hearing Lin Feng's words, it was very happy. Thus it became quiet. Lin Feng looked at the middle-aged cultivator. Although the holy dragon fruit was precious, Lin Feng still intended to trade with the middle-aged cultivator, because Lin Feng could not wait to see Xiaolong hatch successfully. 3 immortal medicines that are over 1,000,000 years old. I want them. Lin Feng said, "Ha ha ha ha, the holy dragon fruit is mine. This young master will offer 5 immortal medicines that are over 1,000,000 years old." Long Yuding laughed loudly. He looked at Lin Feng with an arrogant expression. What a big deal. Many people could not help but exclaim as they looked at Long Yuding in shock. 5 immortal medicines that were over 1,000,000 years old. Long Yuding was really rich. Long Yuding enjoyed the shocked, envious, and jealous gazes of the surrounding cultivators. Chapter 3298. This Long Yuding really knows how to trample on that human cultivator whenever he gets the chance. Isn't that so? The two of them are now facing each other, but Long Yuding does have the ability to do so. That's right. Long Yuding is of noble birth and has a lot of treasures on him. The cultivators in the private room began to discuss among themselves. Clearly, in their eyes, Lin Feng had no way of competing with Long Yuding. Lin Feng said indifferently, "What a disgrace. You dare to take out 5 immortal herbs that are over 1,000,000 years old to make a fool of yourself. What a pauper. I'll give you 10. Lin Feng's words caused an uproar among the crowd. Any stock of immortal medicine was priceless. Lin Feng actually offered 10 immortal herbs in exchange for the holy dragon fruit. He was truly rich and overbearing. Even the middle-aged cultivator revealed an expression of disbelief. Long Yuding's expression turned extremely ugly. Earlier, he had humiliated Lin Feng. But now, it seemed that what he had just said was like a resounding slap to his face. Long Yuding's expression was as ugly as it could be. What? You can't afford a higher price. Are immortal herbs very precious? In the eyes of a pauper like you, immortal herbs might be precious, but to me, they're nothing. Lin Feng couldn't help but sneer. He looked at Long Yuding with disdain. Lin Feng wasn't bragging here, because immortal herbs really weren't much to Lin Feng. Lin Feng had collected so many storage rings from the myriad races, extraterritorial races, and other great emperors. In addition to his own fortuitous opportunities, he had also plundered the treasuries of the exalted immortal sect, the Undying clan, the Huangdao clan, and other forces. Therefore, Lin Feng had over 1,000 immortal herbs on him. This was the accumulation of the great emperors and other forces over countless years. But in the end, it fell into Lin Feng's hands. Therefore, a mere 10 immortal herbs were nothing to Lin Feng. Good. Long Yuding's eyes flashed with killing intent. He said the word good 3 times in a row, wishing he could cut Lin Feng into 1,000 pieces for humiliating him. But now they were in the territory of the 100 Music Pavilion. Long Yuding couldn't go too far. Lin Feng said mockingly, "You insulter! What a humiliation! Do you feel a burning pain on your face right now? Does it feel good?" Many people's mouths twitched violently when they heard Lin Feng's words. Lin Feng wasn't done after slapping Long Yuding's face. Moreover, he was going to tear open Long Yuding's scar once again. "Kid, right now, this young master won't argue with you about this. This young master is looking forward to the scene of you kneeling on the ground and begging for mercy." Long Yuding said coldly, "Young Master Teng, that's right. There's no need to be calculative with this kid." Sun Yongtao also advised from the side. Long Yuding nodded. Then he sat down and didn't say anything else. From Long Yuding's gloomy expression, one could tell how angry he was at this moment. Lin Feng used 10 immortal herbs to exchange for the holy dragon fruit with the middle-aged cultivator. Then, Lin Feng refined the holy dragon fruit. The holy dragon fruit turned into the purest energy. When the little dragon felt the energy of the holy dragon fruit, it cried out in alarm. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The little dragon began to madly devour the energy of the holy dragon fruit. A large amount of energy. It was all devoured by the little dragon. Crack, crack. The dragon egg kept cracking. At that moment, Lin Feng's attention was drawn to the dragon egg. After devouring the holy dragon fruit, could the dragon egg completely crack? If it could completely crack, then the little dragon would be born. Was this heaven-defying little dragon the descendant of the ancestral dragon? The answer was about to be revealed. Because of this, Lin Feng felt somewhat nervous. Crack, 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 crack. The dragon egg was still cracking. The dragon egg was about to crack completely, but it was still a little short. Bang, bang, bang. The little dragon slammed its head directly against the dragon egg. Ouch, it hurts. Then the little dragon screamed. The little guy didn't manage to crack open the dragon egg. Instead, it hit its head with extreme pain. Lin Feng didn't know whether to laugh or cry, although the little dragon still couldn't hatch this time. But Lin Feng felt, at most, it could devour another heaven and earth treasure. The little dragon should be able to hatch successfully. One cultivator after another took out their treasures to trade. In the following trade, Lin Feng still didn't make a move. Very few treasures could arouse Lin Feng's interest. Everyone, this old man came late. Everyone, please forgive me. At this moment, a hearty laugh suddenly sounded in the private room. Then, an old man entered the private room. This old man had the demeanor of a transcendent being. He wore a Taoist robe, but he didn't hold a horsetail whisk in his hand. This old man wasn't a Taoist priest. Lin Feng had seen many people who weren't Taoists like to wear Taoist robes. It was said that this helped in comprehending the Tao. However, Lin Feng didn't know who spread this saying. Old man Shanghai. It's old man Shanghai. After seeing the old man, someone immediately cried out in alarm. What? This old man is old man Shanghai? Then the sound of people sucking in cold air could be heard. Old man Shanghai seemed to be very famous, because other than Lin Feng, Du Zhu, the evil sovereign saint, and the 2 ghost emperors, these 5 cultivators from the 9 regions. When the others heard that this old man was old man Shanghai, they all revealed shocked expressions. Who is old man Shanghai? Du Zhu asked a cultivator beside him in a low voice. Lin Feng couldn't help but listen. That cultivator looked at Du Zhu as if he was looking at a monster. This made the poison ancestor extremely depressed, and he almost wanted to slap him. That cultivator saw that Du Zhu didn't seem to know old man Shanghai's origin, so he said, Old man Shanghai is a famous expert in the starry sky world. This person is an Emperor Realm expert. 7th Heaven Emperor Realm. An Emperor Realm cultivator. He was a great emperor of the 5th Heaven. An Emperor Realm expert was definitely a figure who could dominate the world. Lin Feng couldn't help but be slightly surprised. He didn't expect old man Shanghai to be such a powerful figure. This level, it was enough to become the master of a great world. Even the myriad races, which were known to have countless experts. There weren't many Emperor Realm experts. Many people went to greet old man Shanghai. Although old man Shanghai's cultivation was powerful, he was very easygoing. He nodded to everyone with a smile on his face. This time, This old man represents the 100 Music Pavilion to bring something to everyone. I'm here to trade with everyone. Chapter 32:99. Hearing this, everyone's spirits couldn't help but tremble. The treasure they had been waiting for had finally appeared. Many people couldn't suppress the excitement in their hearts. Duzu continued to ask the cultivator beside him, "What's the relationship between Old Man Songhai and the 100 Music Pavilion?" Rumor has it that Old Man Songhai is a hall master of the 100 Music Pavilion's main pavilion. The cultivator said. The 100 Music Pavilion's main pavilion had a chief pavilion master, 3 vice chief pavilion masters, and 8 hall masters. Old Man Songhai was one of the 8 hall masters of the 100 Music Pavilion. Since he was an Emperor Realm expert, didn't that mean that the other 7 hall masters were also experts of the same level? As for the 3 vice chief pavilion masters, what was the cultivation level of the chief pavilion master? The 100 Music Pavilion was one of the most powerful forces in the starry sky world. This force really couldn't be underestimated. There were too many experts. Lin Feng couldn't help but click his tongue. "I wonder what treasure that thing is." Someone asked. She couldn't wait to see that treasure for a long time. Many cultivators had come this time. They were here for the treasure that had been passed down from the battlefield of the gods. The writ of the gods. Old Man Songhai said, "The writ of the gods? What's that?" Someone asked doubtfully. Lin Feng was also surprised. He had originally thought that it was a powerful treasure, but now it seemed to be a command medallion. Everyone should know about the tiger tally, right? Old Man Songhai said. A cultivator said, "Of course we know about the tiger tally. Some secular countries need the tiger tally to mobilize their troops. It's said that the soldiers of those countries only recognize the tiger tally and not the general. That's why the tiger tally is the key to mobilizing troops in the secular world." Old Man Songhai said, "This fellow Taoist is absolutely right. The writ of the gods has the same function as the tiger tally of the secular world." Everyone looked at Old Man Songhai in shock. They couldn't help but reveal astonishment on their faces. Old Man Songhai explained, "During the late period of the Xiantian life forms rule, the Xiantian life forms formed huge cultivator armies one after another. The cultivator army is made up of true experts. It is said that many immortal-level existences have joined the cultivator army. From this, one can see just how powerful the cultivator army is. And the one who mobilized these cultivator armies was the Order of the Gods. In the past, with the God's token, even immortals had to listen to it. If you dare to disobey, you will be killed without mercy. Oh my God! The origin of this token of the gods is simply too shocking." Many people couldn't help but exclaim, their faces full of shock. The origin of the Order of the Gods was indeed too great. Following that, someone said, "The writ of the gods," in the era of Xiantian life forms, indeed held extraordinary significance. However, the current era of Xiantian life forms had long since ended. Who knew how many billions of years had passed? What's the value of the gods' order? Many people couldn't help but nod. This was also what everyone was puzzled about. The Order of the Gods seemed to have only a symbolic meaning now. There was no other meaning to it. Old Man Songhai smiled and said, "The God's token is very useful, because the God's token is a token to enter the battlefield of the gods. Only those who possess the God's token can rely on the God's token to find the battlefield of the gods, and then enter it." Old Man Songhai said, "What? There's such a thing?" Many cultivators couldn't help but exclaim, their eyes fixed on the God's token in Old Man Songhai's hand. If the God's token had such a function, then it was too precious. The value of the God's token was unimaginable. Senior, what do you want to exchange it for? Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. In the private room, everyone looked at Old Man Tsang Hai at the same time. Everyone wanted to know what Old Man Tsang Hai wanted to exchange the god's token for. A supreme treasure like the god's token. It involved the mysterious battlefield of the gods. It didn't seem excessive to exchange it for anything. Old Man Tsang Hai said, an immortal artifact. This many people couldn't help but frown. The god's token was naturally incomparably precious. With the god's token, one would have limitless possibilities. If one used the god's token to enter the battlefield of the gods, one could even obtain several immortal artifacts. But so what? That was all in the future. Obtaining the god's token might even lead to a fatal disaster. Or, even if one could use the god's token to enter the battlefield of the gods, there was also the possibility of encountering danger and dying in the battlefield of the gods. Therefore, the so-called opportunity, these were all things that couldn't be seen. As for immortal artifacts, they were true supreme treasures, not to mention that one couldn't take out an immortal artifact. Even if one took out an immortal artifact, no one would use an immortal artifact to exchange for the god's token. Ha ha ha. I was just joking with everyone. Don't take it so seriously. Old Man Tsang Hai couldn't help but laugh. F***CK. Lin Feng couldn't help but roll his eyes. Old Man Tsang Hai, who looked like an immortal, actually knew how to make such a joke. It was really unexpected. Many people couldn't help but smile bitterly. Old Man Tsang Hai continued, the god's token can be exchanged for a divine striking stone. I wonder who has it. Divine striking stone? This kind of thing is already difficult to find, right? A cultivator immediately frowned and said, Lin Feng couldn't help but raise his eyebrows slightly. It was recorded in the classic of mountains and seas. The ancestor of the Jiang family, Jiang Taigong, searched for a divine striking stone and forged a supreme treasure, the divine striking whip, which could strike the gods of all worlds. The divine striking whip. It was a magic treasure that was famous for its prowess. It was one of the most famous magical treasures in history. Compared to many treasures, the divine striking whip was not as powerful as those treasures. However, the divine striking whip had an extremely heaven-defying aspect. That was no god would be able to avoid the attack of the god-beating whip. The gods here referred to the experts of the era of the conferred gods. The divine striking whip was the supreme treasure of the Jiang family, which had been passed down until now. Back in the Tianwu continent, Lin Feng and Jiang Yudi were very close. Of course, Lin Feng and Jiang Yudi were purely friends. However, they were friends who would go through life and death together. Lin Feng had heard Jiang Yudi mention the divine striking whip before. Once activated, no one could avoid the divine striking whip's attack. Therefore, it was easy to imagine how heaven-defying this supreme treasure was. The material used to forge the divine striking whip was the divine striking stone. I heard that a divine striking stone appeared in the starry sky world a few years ago. If you want the god's token, you can find the divine striking stone to exchange for it. Old Man Tsang Hai said, There's no need to find the divine striking stone. It's with me. At this moment, a voice suddenly resounded. Next, a cultivator stood up and walked toward Old Man Tsang Hai. Chapter 3300. The cultivator who spoke was actually Xie Duanhuan. Xie Duanhuan was the son of the leader of the evil demon bandits, and he had a fiendish appearance. He really didn't look like a good person. Moreover, Xie Duanhuan's eyes were extremely sinister and terrifying. The scar on his face was like a wriggling centipede. His entire person gave off a gloomy and terrifying feeling. At this time, Xie Duanhuan took out an item. It was a piece of green stone. It looked very ordinary, and there was nothing special about it. But that cyan stone was the priceless divine striking stone. This was a material used to forge the god striking whip. This was also the first time Lin Feng had seen a legendary treasure like the god striking stone. Although such a piece of god striking stone was not enough to forge a treasure like the god striking whip. However, there was no problem in forging a smaller magic treasure. Let this old man take a look. Old man Song hurriedly said. Xie Duanhuan handed the god-striking stone over to old man Song Hai. Old man Song Hai studied it carefully. Then he couldn't help but reveal a look of joy. That's right. It was the god-striking stone. Old man Song Hai said. He kept the god-striking stone and then handed the god's token to Xie Duanhuan. Xie Duanhuan was playing with the god's token. The corner of his mouth curled up into a sinister arc. The god's token had an owner. This caused many cultivators to be extremely disappointed, but this was how bartering was. Whoever could take out what the other party wanted would be able to obtain the other party's treasure. Since he couldn't take out what the other party wanted, he could only look at the treasure and sigh. The trade fair continued. However, the trade fair had already reached its end. In addition, the god's token had been exchanged by Xie Duanhuan. As a result, cultivators left the trade fair one after another. Lin Feng's group of 5 left the trade fair before it ended. The beautiful woman chased after them and said, Lin Gongzi, wait a moment. Oh, is there anything else? Lin Feng looked at the beautiful woman and asked, Hallmaster invites you in. Let's discuss the matter I mentioned before. The beautiful woman said, Good, this is something that should be done. Lin Feng said, following which, under the guidance of the beautiful woman, Lin Feng's group of 5 arrived at another private room. There was only one person in the room. It was old man Song Hai. Senior Song Hai. Lin Feng cupped his fists at old man Song Hai. Du Zhu, the evil dominator holy sage, and the 2 ghost emperors also cupped their fists. The beautiful woman left without a sound. The trade fair wasn't over yet. Therefore, the beautiful woman needed to preside over the trade fair. Ha 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 ha, little friend Lin Feng, this old man has heard of your great name for a long time. Now, he had finally gotten what he wanted and met his little friend Lin Feng. Truly a man of striking appearance, a dragon amongst men. Old man Sanghai said with a smile, Senior, you flatter me. This junior really doesn't deserve such praise. Lin Feng said hurriedly. Old man Sanghai said, Little friend, there's no need to be so polite. Over the years, this old man has seen too many geniuses, but geniuses with little friends bearing are as rare as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns. Coincidentally, this old man has a granddaughter who is as beautiful as a fairy. Who knows how many people want to pursue this old man's granddaughter, but this old man's granddaughter has very high standards. Thus, until now, she still hasn't found her ideal husband. Little friend, are you interested in meeting this old man's granddaughter? Perhaps the 2 of you will be attracted to each other and have deep feelings for each other, resulting in an eternal story of a handsome man and a beautiful woman. After hearing old man Songhai's words, Lin Feng couldn't help but smile bitterly. Old man Songhai was truly an unfathomable person. Now that they had met, he didn't even talk about proper matters and instead introduced his granddaughter to him. Moreover, old man Songhai's serious manner didn't seem to be joking at all. Du Zhu, the evil dominator holy sage, and the 2 ghost emperors were secretly laughing at the side. Lin Feng smiled bitterly and said, Many thanks for Senior's good intentions. Junior is just passing by, so I won't stay for long. Soon, Junior will enter the starry sky world to travel the starry sky, so I have no time to consider personal matters. So, I hope Senior can be magnanimous. Old man Songhai heard Lin Feng say this, and continued, Little friend, you say this because you haven't seen this old man's granddaughter. If you really see this old man's granddaughter, I'm afraid you won't be able to move. When the time comes to chase you away, you probably won't leave. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. He really met a weirdo. Old man Songhai was clearly different from other top experts, who would spare no effort to recommend their granddaughter. Lin Feng said helplessly, Senior Songhai? Although Junior would like to chat with Songhai, for a while, Junior still has things to deal with. If Senior doesn't have anything else, Junior will take his leave first. Old man Songhai naturally knew why Lin Feng wanted to leave. Naturally, it wasn't because he had things to deal with, but because he was frightened by his enthusiasm. Thinking of this, Old man Songhai said, Little friend, don't be in a hurry to leave. Of course, this old man has something to discuss with you. Let's put aside the matter of this old man's granddaughter for the time being and talk about business. In the next hour, Lin Feng and old man Songhai talked about many things about the Stone State. Lin Feng learned many secrets of the Stone State from old man Songhai. And, of course, he also learned about the various terrifying restrictions that shrouded the Stone State. After the two sides finished talking about the Stone State, Lin Feng planned to leave. Old man Songhai sent Lin Feng and the others to the door, and then continued, Little friend, you must think carefully. This old man's granddaughter is really good. She's a peerless beauty. If you miss this village, you won't have this shop. You must seize this opportunity. Lin Feng, who had just walked out of the private room, almost fell to the ground. He hurriedly fled. The next day, boom, a terrifying aura pervaded between heaven and earth. The void split open. A cultivator stepped out. This cultivator was none other than Sun Yongtao, a fifth-layer immortal emperor powerhouse. Sun Yongtao had no intention of suppressing his aura. An extremely terrifying aura was emitted from his body. That terrifying aura directly enveloped Lin Feng's residence. Such a powerful aura naturally attracted the attention of many people. Many cultivators rushed over and watched from a distance. It's Sun Yongtao. This person has attached himself to the demonic dragon clan. Now that he's emitting such killing intent, who is he targeting? I heard that he's targeting a young human cultivator. Sun Yongtao said that he wants that young human cultivator to suffer a fate worse than death. Oh, a young human cultivator. Is there a conflict between the two sides? It seems to be a conflict that occurred at the trade fair. Long Yuding was also involved, but he didn't appear. Perhaps he thinks that Sun Yongtao is enough to deal with that brat. This is going to be a good show. That human brat is definitely going to die, right? Not necessarily. That human brat has 4 great emperors by his side. There are strong and weak great emperors as well. With Sun Yongtao's powerful cultivation, he can deal with the 4 great emperors by his side alone. Many people began to discuss spiritedly, Little bastard, get out here and die. Chapter 3301. When he heard the curses, Lin Feng knew who it was. Sun Yongtao, a cultivator attached to the devil dragon race. Lin Feng had long guessed that this person would not let the matter rest and would definitely come to him. Now, he really came. You reckless thing, you actually took the initiative to send yourself to death. The evil sovereign saint sneered. This Sun Yongtao was only at the 5th level of the immortal lord realm. As for the evil sovereign saint, he was at the peak of the immortal lord realm. However, The evil sovereign saint liked to pretend to be weak and cultivated a special technique. He suppressed his realm to the divine Lord realm. Therefore, when others sensed the strength of the evil sovereign saint, they discovered that the evil sovereign saint was only a divine Lord realm cultivator. Naturally, they would look down on the evil sovereign saint. In fact, the evil sovereign saint was extremely terrifying. This was because the evil sovereign saint's mana was profound, and his physical body was even stronger than Lin Feng's. This was because the evil sovereign saint was an emperor's corpse. In the past, he had an emperor's body. Now that he had returned from the tribulation, then he cultivated his body. Naturally, he was extremely terrifying. Other than the evil sovereign saint, Duzu and the two ghost emperors were only one step away from entering the immortal Lord realm. In addition, the 9 regions' great emperor could often challenge the great emperor of other worlds. If the evil sovereign saint did not make a move, Duzu or the two ghost emperors could easily defeat this Sun Yongtao. Therefore, there was no need for Lin Feng to deal with someone like Sun Yongtao. Why did Lin Feng bring the 4 great emperors out? Of course, it was to help solve some problems. For example, encountering someone like Sun Yongtao who did not have eyes, Duzu and the others could help Lin Feng get rid of the other party. Little bastard, didn't you hear? Hurry up and come out to die. Sun Yongtao cursed fiercely. He was extremely excited now, because from Sun Yongtao's point of view, Lin Feng would not be able to escape even if he had wings. He would be able to torture and humiliate Lin Feng later. In his heart, naturally, he was extremely excited. Creak, the door opened. Lin Feng and the others walked out. That brat is still laughing. Don't you know that a calamity is coming? Who knows what that brat is thinking? The surrounding cultivators who were watching the fun saw Lin Feng come out with a face full of smiles. All of them were extremely puzzled. She didn't know why Lin Feng was laughing. I was wondering who was buzzing around here like a fly early in the morning. So it's you? Trash. Trash Sun. I didn't go looking for you, but you came looking for me. Are you in such a hurry to die? Lin Feng looked at Sun Yongtao with a mocking expression. He did not put Sun Yongtao in his eyes at all. Anyone could feel Lin Feng's contempt and disdain for Sun Yongtao. This made everyone extremely shocked. Lin Feng is a piece of trash. Sun Yongtao was once again called trash. Could it be that he really had the confidence to deal with Sun Yongtao? However, many people quickly rejected this idea. Sun Yongtao had such a powerful cultivation. What could Lin Feng and the other 4 use to contend against Sun Yongtao? That brat is too arrogant. He actually humiliated Sun Yongtao like this. Sun Yongtao will definitely torture him until he wishes he was dead. Then a cultivator said. This cultivator's words gained the approval of many people. Little bastard, you're courting death. You're courting death. This emperor will tear you into pieces. Vent the hatred in my heart. Sun Yongtao's resentful voice sounded. Lin Feng curled his lips and said, a piece of trash like you doesn't even have the qualifications to fight with me. Which one of you 4 will go and kill this trash? This guy is too arrogant. Many people couldn't help but say, Lin Feng, a quasi-emperor level cultivator, actually said that an immortal emperor level expert didn't even have the qualifications to fight with him. If this wasn't arrogance, then what was? However, these people didn't know that Lin Feng was just stating the truth. Once Lin Feng, who controlled the Black Dragon sword, used it, perhaps it would only take 1 sword. It would be enough to kill Sun Yongtao. Lin Feng was no longer interested in fighting with an ordinary great emperor like Sun Yongtao. Either that or those monstrous cultivators, or those great emperor with a high cultivation realm. Or else, how could an ordinary great emperor be qualified to make Lin Feng take action? Du Zhu, the evil sovereign saint, and the two ghost emperors could kill those people. Young master, I'll deal with this reckless thing. The evil sovereign saint took the initiative to ask for orders. Ha 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 ha. When the big zombie makes a move, it's simply a complete massacre. Du Zhu laughed loudly. Go. Lin Feng waved his hand and said. The heretic sovereign saint flew out and laughed coldly as he looked at Sun Yongtao. And then he said, a piece of trash like you dares to run before our young master. You're simply tired of living. I'll kill you today. In your next life, remember, don't offend people you can't afford to offend. Many people couldn't help but reveal bitter smiles, because everyone realized it wasn't just Lin Feng, this young master, who was extremely arrogant. Even Lin Feng's subordinates. They were all so arrogant. They didn't put Sun Yongtao, an immortal emperor stage ranker, in their eyes at all. When a god, lord, realm cultivator could ignore an immortal emperor stage cultivator like this, Sun Yongtao made his move and punched towards the evil sovereign saint. Sun Yongtao's fist was surrounded by endless immortal light. Within the immortal light, a mysterious and unfathomable world could be vaguely seen. That world, it emitted an extremely terrifying aura and fluctuation. And in that mysterious world, immortals soared into the sky, flying into the 9 heavens. Flying immortal fist. It's actually the flying immortal fist. This is a terrifying sacred art. Legend has it that it was passed down from a sentient life form. After seeing Sun Yongtao unleash this flying immortal fist, many people couldn't help but reveal extremely shocked expressions. The power of that punch was simply too terrifying, causing people to be extremely shocked. That brat subordinate wouldn't have been killed by Sun Yongtao's punch, right? Immediately, a cultivator said. Many people felt that perhaps there really was such a possibility. Facing Sun Yongtao's attack, the evil sovereign saint had a cold expression on his face. At this time, the evil sovereign saint also made his move. The evil sovereign saint swept his fist towards Sun Yongtao. Moreover, his punch seemed extremely casual. The evil sovereign saint didn't put Sun Yongtao in his eyes at all, which was why he threw out such a casual punch. Bam! Accompanied by the sound of a violent collision. The sound of bones cracking could be heard. He took on the powerful attack of the evil sovereign saint. Sun Yongtao's arm was broken. He couldn't withstand the evil sovereign saint's attack at all. The evil sovereign saint's terrifying punch finally landed on Sun Yongtao's chest. Sun Yongtao's chest exploded. His body flew out and fell to the ground. He was already dead. Sun Yongtao, who was at the 5th stage of the immortal emperor realm, was actually killed by the evil sovereign saint with a single punch. Seeing this scene, the surroundings were completely silent. Chapter 33:02. The heretical divinity saint took Sun Yongtao's source energy. It was an immortal emperor source energy, and it was very precious. Sun Yongtao's storage ring was also taken by the heretical divinity saint. The heretical divinity saint gave everything to Lin Feng. Sun Yongtao had died, but Long Yuding didn't show up. Long Yuding was definitely not a simple person. Lin Feng turned and entered the courtyard. Du Zhu, the heretical divinity saint, and the 2 ghost emperors followed closely behind. Did you notice? The 4 great emperors by that brat's side seemed to be very respectful to him. Someone said, that brat should be from a top faction, right? Isn't it normal for the protectors by his side to be very respectful to him? Someone continued, no, it's completely different. You have to know that great emperors have their own dignity. Long Yuding's status in the demonic dragon clan is so high, but when Sun Yongtao faces him, he listens to Long Yuding's orders, but most of the time, Sun Yongtao and Long Yuding are on equal footing. But the 4 people by that brat's side are different. Did you notice the look in their eyes? Everyone's looking at that brat with respect. What does that mean? That's right. I can feel it too. The four great emperors respect that brat very much. That doesn't make sense. Even if they received orders from the faction behind them to protect that brat. But there's no need for them to respect that brat so much, right? There's only one way to get these great emperors to show their respect. Following that, a few more cultivators joined in the discussion. What way? Someone asked. To be stronger than those great emperors. Someone said. The moment that was said, the crowd was in an uproar. According to the cultivators' speculation, Lin Feng's strength was he stronger than the four great emperors by his side. That's impossible. Many people shook their heads, unable to believe it. The outside world was in an uproar because of Sun Yongtao's death. Long Yuding had yet to make a move. However, everyone knew that Long Yuding wouldn't let this matter rest. After all, people like Long Yuding cared a lot about face. He had been humiliated by Lin Feng before. Sun Yongtao was his bodyguard, and now Sun Yongtao was killed. How could Long Yuding let this go? That kid even taught Yin Xian Kuan of the Sun Moon tribe a lesson. What? There was such a thing. You even dare to offend a colossus like the Sun Moon tribe? Isn't that so? What's going on? I heard that a small-scale trade fair was held in the 100 Music Pavilion. Yin Xian Kuan and the others were no match for the young man. That young man ordered his men to break Yin Xian Kuan's limbs and threw him down from the 7th floor of the 100 Music Pavilion. He's really audacious. I don't know where that kid came from, but he's actually doing things without any scruples. Just you wait. The Sun Moon tribe and the Demon Dragon tribe will not let that brat off. I heard that the people from the Evil Demon Bandit group are also inquiring about that brat recently. What? The Evil Demon Bandits were inquiring about him? Were they trying to kill him and steal his treasures? How did the Evil Demon Bandit group get their eyes on him? That brat displayed his extraordinary wealth at the trade fair organized by the 100 Music Pavilion. That's why he was targeted by the Evil Demon Bandit group. Cultivators who are targeted by the Evil Demon Bandit group don't have a good ending. Cultivators on the streets and alleys of the Lanzhou Star were all talking about Lin Feng. After all, Sun Yongtao was an immortal Emperor Realm cultivator. The fall of an immortal Emperor Realm cultivator would naturally cause a huge uproar. Lin Feng was at the center of the storm. Of course, he would become the focus of countless discussions. In the blink of an eye, it was time to depart for the Stone State ruins. The beautiful woman sent someone to fetch Lin Feng. Lin Feng once again arrived at the beautiful woman's residence. The experts of the 100 Music Pavilion had all arrived. This time, the 100 Music Pavilion was led by Old Man Tsang Hai. Old Man Tsang Hai was one of the 8 hall masters of the 100 Music Pavilion. He was an Emperor Realm cultivator. With him leading everyone to the Stone State ruins, there would be no problems. Their safety would also be guaranteed. Anyone who wanted to attack a group led by an Emperor Realm cultivator would have to carefully consider whether they had the ability to do so. On the 100 Music Pavilion side, other than Old Man Tsang Hai, there were also 3 great emperors. One of them was the beautiful woman Su Jiaomei. The other 2 were a man and a woman. Lin Feng had never seen them before. The man looked to be in his 40s or 50s. Of course, his actual age was far from that. The woman looked quite similar to Su Jiaomei and seemed to be about the same age. Lin Feng's heart couldn't help but tremble slightly. Could this woman be Su Jiaomei's sister? Because their appearances were somewhat similar, Lin Feng made such a guess. In addition to the 4 great emperors, the 100 Music Pavilion also brought many cultivators and guards. Some of the younger cultivators probably had an extraordinary status in the 100 Music Pavilion. This time, they were most likely brought along to try their luck. Perhaps they would be able to obtain a great opportunity and soar into the sky, a carp leaping through the Dragon's Gate. What surprised Lin Feng was that in addition to the cultivators of the 100 Music Pavilion, there were dozens of cultivators who were not from the 100 Music Pavilion. The other dozens of cultivators were divided into 3 groups. The first group was led by a female cultivator who was about 30 years old. The second group was led by an old man. The third group was led by 2 middle-aged men who looked exactly the same. After seeing these 3 groups of people, Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. He originally thought that there were only people from the 100 Music Pavilion. He didn't expect there were actually 3 more groups of people from unknown forces. Old Man Songhai introduced with a smile, "Little friend, these 3 forces are the Bright Moon Star region, the Myriad Fiend Star region, the experts of the Yin-Yang Star region. Back then, our 4 forces discovered the Stone State ruins together. Therefore, our 4 forces are now exploring the Stone State ruins together." After introducing the 3 forces to Lin Feng, Old Man Songhai introduced Lin Feng to the 3 forces. Old Man Songhai said, "This is little friend Lin. He is the formation grandmaster that our 100 Music Pavilion invited. This time, he will be following us to the Stone State ruins." As soon as Old Man Songhai's voice fell, Chapter 3303, the cultivator who spoke was called Wan Yanming. This person was a rising star of the 1,000 Fiend Star region, a super genius. He had cultivated for 50,000 years. Now, his cultivation had broken through to the peak Emperor God level. At this age, at this realm, he was indeed considered a genius. The human race was weak, although there were some top human forces in the starry sky world. But they were only a minority in the huge human race, in the individual top forces, in the boundless starry sky world, in the endless forces, in the huge human race, in the individual top forces, in the boundless starry sky world. Naturally, they were like a drop in the ocean. They couldn't attract too much attention. When the cultivator called Wan Yanming saw that Lin Feng was so young and was a human cultivator, he revealed a mocking expression. He didn't believe that Lin Feng was an array master. He didn't know when it started. It seemed like every force, every race. They could even mock and insult the human race. This made Lin Feng very angry. The human race was weak, but it wasn't something that these people could insult as they wished. Lin Feng ignored Wan Yanming. Instead, he looked directly at the old man beside Wan Yanming. This old man was called Wan Qiyuan. He was the 5th elder of the 1,000 Fiend Star region, an emperor-level expert. His cultivation could be said to be unfathomable. The elders in the clan haven't spoken yet, but the younger generation spoke first. It seems that the 1,000 Fiend Star region didn't discipline their younger generation well. Lin Feng said indifferently. Wan Yanming's face suddenly sank. Lin Feng ignored him. Instead, he directly ignored him and talked to Wan Qiyuan. Wasn't this looking down on Wan Yanming? Wasn't this saying that Wan Yanming wasn't qualified to talk to him? Thinking of this, Wan Yanming was burning with anger. Wan Qiyuan said faintly, "Sometimes young people speak without thinking. It's understandable. If all of them are as steady as the elders, they will lose the vitality of the young." Lin Feng said, "Vitality and not knowing the rules are 2 completely different concepts. Senior, you should educate the younger generation of the clan properly. After all, the younger generation is the hope of the clan. One wrong step, and it might affect their lives. Kid, what right do you have to boast shamelessly here? Wang Yanming couldn't take it anymore. He looked at Lin Feng furiously. His eyes were filled with awe-inspiring intent. He had never put Lin Feng in his eyes, so how could he tolerate Lin Feng pointing fingers at him? Moreover, Lin Feng was acting all high and mighty. This kind of arrogant attitude made Wang Yanming extremely angry. Lin Feng said faintly, "Since the 100 Music Pavilion has invited me to take action, this means that I have the qualifications. You, on the other hand, don't know the rules at all. If your elders weren't here, I wouldn't mind teaching you how to behave on behalf of your elders." Everyone looked at Lin Feng with great interest. Lin Feng was a Boundary Emperor realm cultivator. Where did his confidence come from? She actually dared to say that she would teach Wang Yanming a lesson? "Brat, how dare you strut around here with your meager cultivation? Since you don't know what's good for you, I'll fulfill your wish." Wang Yanming's voice was cold. He directly leaped out. He flew toward Lin Feng. Boom! Then Wang Yanming made his move and punched toward Lin Feng. That tyrannical punch contained the power to destroy heaven and earth. Wang Yanming's punch was called the 10,000 Dragon Roaring Sky Fist. With a punch, it could erupt with the power of 10,000 dragons. Its power was endless. Will that brat be killed by Wang Yanming's punch? Some of the cultivators in the crowd whispered. Wang Yanming's cultivation was indeed very powerful. It surpassed Lin Feng by too much. Therefore, many people felt that Lin Feng might really be killed by Wang Yanming's punch. Wang Yanming looked at Lin Feng with a mocking gaze. Wang Yanming was obviously extremely confident in his own cultivation. He believed. He punched himself, even if he couldn't directly kill Lin Feng. At the very least, he could seriously injure Lin Feng. This bit of confidence, Wang Yanming still had it. No one present had seen Lin Feng make a move. Even though the 100 Music Pavilion had a certain understanding of Lin Feng, but after all, it was only the information they found out. What you hear is false, but what you see is true. Therefore, these people from the 100 Music Pavilion also wanted to see how Lin Feng's cultivation was. The only ones who were full of confidence in Lin Feng were Du Zhu, the evil sovereign saint, and the two ghost emperors. They knew Lin Feng's combat strength. How powerful and terrifying was he? Facing Wang Yanming's attack, Lin Feng's expression was cold. He also punched toward Wang Yanming. Lin Feng's punch. He didn't even use any supernatural powers. He just circulated his magic power. Then he punched. Wang Yanming's expression suddenly became extremely gloomy. Lin Feng actually looked down on him so much. It simply made Wang Yanming mad. Now, Wang Yanming felt that killing Lin Feng directly was letting Lin Feng off too easily. He should trample Lin Feng under his feet. He should ruthlessly humiliate and torture him. Only then could he relieve the hatred in his heart. Bang! Right at that moment, the two sides collided. Everyone saw that. Lin Feng didn't move at all. Wang Yanming, on the other hand, was sent flying. Wah! Suddenly, Wang Yanming spat out a mouthful of blood. Wang Yanming, who was at the peak of the Emperor God realm. He was actually beaten by Lin Feng to the point of spitting out blood. This, everyone present had an incoherent expression on their faces. They simply couldn't believe their eyes. Lin Feng was only a Boundary Emperor realm cultivator. Now, he actually beat a peak Emperor God cultivator to the point of spitting out blood. Furthermore, he had only used a single move. This combat strength, wasn't it too powerful? Today, I'll give face to 1,000 Fiend Star region, so I'll spare your life. In the future, be more low-key. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died. Lin Feng said, indifferently, arrogant. Lin Feng's words. It could be said to be extremely arrogant. However, now, Everyone felt that Lin Feng's words were normal, because Lin Feng was strong enough. When he was strong enough, he could do anything. Everything was natural. If he wasn't strong enough, if he was still so arrogant, that was the path to his own death. Wang Yanming's expression was as ugly as it could be. His fists were even clenched together. An unprecedented sense of humiliation. It made him feel like death was better than living. Just like what Lin Feng said before, those who humiliated others would be humiliated by others. Wang Yanming reaped what he sowed. Humph! This old man is still here. How dare you injure someone from my myriad fiend starfield? Are you looking down on my myriad fiend starfield? At this moment, Wan Qiyuan spoke. Now that Wang Yanming had suffered a great loss in Lin Feng's hands, Wang Qiyuan naturally wouldn't sit idly by. A terrifying aura surged out of Wang Qiyuan's body and suppressed Lin Feng. Chapter 3304. Wang Qiyuan's Emperor Realm cultivation was extremely terrifying. Now he openly attacked. He wanted to humiliate Lin Feng in front of everyone. However, soon, Wang Qiyuan's expression turned ugly because a terrifying aura was emitted from his body. However, it did not affect Lin Feng at all. Lin Feng looked at Wang Qiyuan indifferently as if nothing had happened. After seeing this scene, everyone was completely dumbfounded. The aura of an Emperor Realm expert was oppressing. It did not affect Lin Feng at all. This was too unbelievable. It was no wonder these people were shocked. After all, an Emperor Realm expert's cultivation was so powerful. It was impossible for ordinary people to fight against a cultivator of this level. The aura emitted by a cultivator of this level, it was enough to suppress many Emperor Realm experts. No matter how strong Lin Feng's cultivation was, he should not be able to ignore the aura of an Emperor Realm expert like this. These people were mainly unaware of Lin Feng's situation. If they knew that Lin Feng had mastered 3 types of domineering aura, they would probably know why Lin Feng ignored the aura of the Emperor Realm expert, Wang Qiyuan. Lin Feng said indifferently, "Elder Wan's taste is really good. You like to release your aura when you have nothing to do. Are you amusing yourself, or are you trying to make us laugh?" Uffed! When Su Jiaomei and the other female cultivators heard Lin Feng's mocking words of Wang Qiyuan, they could not help but laugh out loud. Many people laughed involuntarily, because Lin Feng was really good at mocking people. How could an expert like Wang Qiyuan amuse himself or make everyone laugh? It was obvious that Wang Qiyuan's aura suppression had been neutralized by Lin Feng. When Wang Qiyuan heard Lin Feng's mockery, he was furious. He was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Wang Qiyuan was an emperor-level expert, yet he couldn't do anything to Lin Feng. It was as if he had been slapped in the face again and again, making him angry out of humiliation. Wang Qiyuan couldn't help but want to kill Lin Feng. Old Man Song Hai also knew that this matter could not continue. Otherwise, it would get out of hand. Therefore, Old Man Song Hai stood up and said, "Brother Wan, little friend Lin." Everyone was about to become a team and enter the stone state together. Therefore, peace should be the most important thing. The previous conflict was just a small matter. There was no need to make things unpleasant. How about we all take a step back and let this matter end here? Since Old Man Songhai had taken the initiative to mediate, naturally, they had to give him face. Lin Feng said, "I have always considered myself to be a magnanimous person. Senior, please take the initiative to mediate. I won't bicker with the people of the 10,000 Fiends Starfield." Lin Feng's words infuriated the people of the 10,000 Fiends Starfield so much that they flew into a rage. Lin Feng was clearly implying that the people of the 10,000 Fiends star field did not know the rules and were acting like villains. However, the people of the 10,000 Fiends star field could only endure for now. Humph, ignorant junior. Why would this old man lower himself to your level? Wan Qiyuan said coldly as he flicked his sleeves. Lin Feng smiled faintly and did not say anything. Wan Qiyuan's cultivation base was high. However, Lin Feng was not afraid of him, because Lin Feng had many supreme treasures and powerful abilities. Wan Qiyuan could not do anything to him. Let's board the ship and set off now. Old man Song Hai said. Okay. Everyone nodded and boarded the ancient starship of the 100 Music Pavilion. The ancient starship of the 100 Music Pavilion was called the 100 Music. The flag of the 100 Music Pavilion looked like an immortal palace. This was the unique symbol of the 100 Music Pavilion. There were too many different kinds of interstellar bandits in the starry skies. Therefore, they had to be careful. After hanging the flag of the 100 Music Pavilion, the interstellar bandits saw it. They would not attack. The 100 Music Pavilion was not something that ordinary bandits could fight against. Therefore, even the bandits in the starry skies did not dare to attack the 100 Music Pavilion. Lin Feng, Du Zhu, the evil dominator saint, and the two ghost emperors lived in a huge suite. Lin Feng had been studying the 3,000 great Daos that he had obtained previously. Lin Feng had cultivated the true incantation of Lin, so his comprehension of the Tao was very fast. Therefore, his cultivation of the 3,000 great Daos was very fast. Other people might have to cultivate for a long time after obtaining the 3,000 great Daos before they could cultivate one of the 3,000 great Daos. However, Lin Feng could comprehend one of the 3,000 great Daos in a few days. In another suite, the 10,000 Fiends star fields, Wan Qiyuan, Wan Yanming, and two other cultivators were here. What was even more shocking was, surprisingly, Wan Qiyuan, who was an Emperor sect expert, was not the leader of these four people, because among the four of them, only one person was sitting there. Even Wan Qiyuan, an Emperor sect expert. They were all standing at the side. The one sitting on the stool was a female cultivator. This female cultivator looked very young, and her life aura. She was also very young. However, facing this female cultivator, even Wan Qiyuan was very respectful to him. That brat surnamed Lin is really despicable. If I don't kill him, I swear I'm not human. Wan Yanming's voice was filled with cold killing intent. Towards Lin Feng, he hated him to the bone. That brat surnamed Lin is not a simple person. Suddenly, the female cultivator opened her mouth and said, "That brat's cultivation is so low, it's absolutely impossible for him to have such a powerful cultivation. He must have an extremely powerful magic treasure on him. Killing him is tantamount to obtaining a great opportunity." Wan Yanming said. The female cultivator said, "This brat surnamed Lin has two bloodlines, the immortal bloodline and the sovereign emperor bloodline." What? Hearing this, the three people in the private room could not help but exclaim. Wan Yanming's eyes flashed with deep jealousy. Immortal bloodline, sovereign emperor bloodline, two legendary bloodlines. Having one bloodline was already extremely heaven-defying, but Lin Feng had two bloodlines. How could this not make people envious and jealous? He's probably training outside, right? Wan Qiyuan said, "This brat's origin is too great. It seems like it's not good to make a move. Otherwise, it will lead to the destruction of our clan." The female cultivator said, "It's fine. Find an opportunity to make a move in the Stone State ruins. The Stone State ruins can shield the secrets of heaven. Do it cleanly and won't be exposed." "Yes." Wan Qiyuan and the other two hurriedly said. The most excited person was none other than Wan Yanming. He could finally kill Lin Feng. Chapter 33:05. Lin Feng didn't know that he had been targeted by the mysterious powerhouse of the myriad fiend star field. Today, Lin Feng was still diligently cultivating the 3,000 grand daos he had obtained before. The One Happiness ancient starship was sailing quickly in the starry sky world. Along the way, they encountered several waves of starry sky bandits. But after seeing that this starry sky ancient ship belonged to the One Happiness Pavilion, those bandits retreated and didn't make things difficult for them. 1 month later, the One Happiness starry sky ancient ship arrived at a vast starfield world. And this starry sky world was the Storm Star Field. Looking at the Storm Star Field from the outside, one could vaguely see that the entire Storm Star Field was shrouded in powerful storms. All kinds of terrifying storms swept across the Storm Star Field. Some could even kill great Emperor-level powerhouses. Of course, the most terrifying ones were probably the space-time storms. Of course, space-time storms were also divided into different levels. The most powerful space-time storms could even bury immortal-level powerhouses. From this, one could see how terrifying space-time storms were. Once a space-time storm blew up, it could be called a disaster for any cultivator. We have arrived at the Storm Star Field. Next, we will enter the Storm Star Field. I hope everything goes smoothly, Sung Hai Old Man said with a dignified expression. Sung Hai Old Man had been to the Storm Star Field several times before. So, Sung Hai Old Man knew how terrifying the Storm Star Field was. In such a place, if one was careless, one might die without a burial place. Therefore, in a place like the Storm Star Field, one must be careful and pray that a space-time storm doesn't appear. The One Happiness ancient starship entered the Storm Star Field. A powerful storm swept over. The All-Joy Starry Sky ancient ship released a huge energy shield. The energy shield immediately enveloped the All-Happiness Starry Sky ancient ship. The raging storm outside was blocked by the energy shield. Lin Feng no longer went into seclusion. He chose to come out. After learning that Lin Feng had come out, Su Jiamei came to invite Lin Feng for a chat. Su Jiamei, such a beauty, invited him. Lin Feng naturally had no reason not to go. After arriving at Su Jiamei's place, Lin Feng smiled and said, "The night is long. Did you invite me here to spend the night with me?" Su Jiamei smiled and said, "If this servant says yes, do you dare to stay?" Lin Feng smiled. "Why wouldn't I dare?" Ha ha ha. At this moment, a charming laughter came from behind the screen. Next, the female cultivator, who looked quite similar to Su Jiamei, walked out. Su Jiamei and this female cultivator were not only similar in appearance, even their temperaments were somewhat similar. They were both charming women. I've long heard from my sister that Lin Gongzi is a straightforward person. Now that I've seen it with my own eyes, it's indeed the case. The female cultivator squinted her phoenix eyes at Lin Feng and said with a smile. Lin Feng had previously guessed that this female cultivator and Su Jiamei were most likely sisters. Now, this female cultivator called Su Jiamei's sister. It confirmed Lin Feng's previous guess. These two people, they were really sisters. "How should I address you, fairy?" Lin Feng looked at the female cultivator with interest, even if he didn't do anything. Just looking at such a peerless beauty, it was also a kind of enjoyment. The woman smiled and said, "This servant is Su Jiayue. Su Jiamei is this servant's sister." Lin Feng said, "They are really like two immortal lotuses. They are beautiful and moving, causing one's heart to sway uncontrollably." Su Jiayue smiled and said, Young master is also a talent. I reckon that any woman would like a man like you. Then, does fairy like a man like me? Lin Feng looked at Su Jiayue with a smile that was not a smile. Young master, you can take a guess. Su Jiayue winked at Lin Feng. Lin Feng smiled and said, I'm an optimist, so I always like to think about things on the bright side. He. Perhaps young master guessed right. Su Jiayue winked at Lin Feng and said. Lin Feng smiled slightly. He didn't think that Su Jiayue was as shallow as she appeared to be. In fact, whether it was Su Jiayue or Su Jiamei, these two women were not simple. They were both women who hid very well. If one was deceived by their appearance and was sold by these two women, one would probably have to count the money for these two women. Lin Feng smiled and said, It's a long, long night. Could it be that the two fairies want to spend this beautiful night with me? Su Jiamei said, The two of us do feel a little lonely in our hearts. Only with young master, we have some common topics, so we thought of inviting young master to come and have a good talk. Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter in his heart. Could it be that this Su Jiamei really thought so, or was she just using words to deceive him? However, Lin Feng soon found out that the Su sisters didn't have any ulterior motives in inviting him. It was a sincere invitation. It was a wonderful night. Listening to the two fairies playing the zither together was a great pleasure. The ancient starship, all joy, quickly shuttled through the storm star field. After flying for about half a month, a huge whirlpool appeared in front of them. At the center of the whirlpool was a black hole. That black hole seemed to be able to swallow everything. Many things were attracted to the whirlpool. Then they were instantly torn to pieces by the whirlpool. That whirlpool, it was so terrifying that one couldn't help but feel a sense of horror. Everyone walked out of the cabin and looked at the whirlpool. We're here, Su Jiamei said. We're at the Stone State ruins. Lin Feng asked in surprise. That's right. The Stone State ruins are inside that black hole. In fact, it's not a real black hole. It's just a star cavern that's similar to a black hole. There's a space inside, but it's extremely dangerous to go there because the whirlpool around the cavern is extremely terrifying. Even great emperors can be torn to pieces by that whirlpool. Su Jiamei said. Lin Feng couldn't help but be shocked. That whirlpool was actually so powerful. How should we enter the whirlpool? Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. We have a way, Su Jiamei said. At this moment, old man Songhai took out a treasure. Lin Feng looked over and saw that the treasure was actually a stone orb. Old man Songhai poured his magic power into the stone orb. Then the stone orb flew into the air. Then the stone orb cracked open, and a powerful devouring force surged out. Everyone was swallowed by the stone sphere. Even the ancient starry sky ship, the One Happiness, was swallowed by the stone sphere. Then the stone orb closed again. Chapter 33:06. The whirlpool contained a destructive power. However, when the power of the whirlpool bombarded the stone ball, it could not destroy the stone ball at all. Now, everyone was under the protection of the stone ball. They quickly flew towards the center of the star cave. Whoosh! The stone ball was extremely fast, passing through the huge distortion formed by the whirlpool. Then, they entered the interior of the star cave. Finally, the stone ball landed in the depths of the star cave. At this time, the stone ball split open again. Lin Feng and the others flew out of the stone ball. There was no storm at the center of the star cave. It formed an independent space, unlike the outside where storms raged. What appeared in front of them was a hazy and huge country. That huge country was now protected by a powerful restriction. Little friend Lin, it's the restriction here that killed many of our spirit array masters. Old Man Sung, Hai said. Lin Feng nodded, and then carefully studied the restriction here. The restriction here was indeed very powerful. It contained many terrifying killing arrays and was incomparably dangerous. Moreover, many of the absolute kill grand arrays were linked together, forming a combination array. Among the various large arrays, the combination array was the most terrifying. Lin Feng roughly estimated that there were probably 300 to 400 types of arrays sealing the Stone State ruins. The number was too shocking. With so many large arrays forming the restriction in front of them, it was no wonder that so many spirit array masters had died. Looking at the restriction here, Lin Feng couldn't help but feel a sense of fear. Not to mention ordinary people. The large arrays here are so powerful. Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. The large arrays here made him feel deeply shocked. One had to know. As time passed, the power of the restriction here could no longer be compared to when it was first set up. But even so, the large arrays here were still so tyrannical. It was hard to imagine, when these large arrays were first set up, just how terrifying were the restrictions in this place. Little friend, can you break the array? Old Man Song, I couldn't help but ask. Lin Feng said, I need some time to study these large arrays before I can finally determine if I can break the array here. All right. Old Man Song, I nodded and no longer disturbed Lin Feng. Lin Feng, on the other hand, began to study and deduce the grand formation here. Time passed day by day. Lin Feng deduced countless times. Finally, this allowed him to deduce the solution. If you want to break the formation, you'll need a lot of formation materials. Lin Feng said, Humph, don't tell me you're trying to scam us for our formation materials. Wan Yeming sneered. The cultivators from the Bright Moon Star region and the Enyang Star region couldn't help but frown. Lin Feng said indifferently, You're gauging the heart of a gentleman with your own mean measure. Old Man Songhai said, Little friend, what array formation materials do you need? Just tell us. We will definitely gather all of them for you. Lin Feng nodded. He took out a jade tube and imprinted more than 10,000 array formation materials in it. This secret technique of mine is a secret technique that uses formations to break through reality. You don't need to completely destroy the restriction here, but you need to concentrate your strength and tear a corner of the restriction. Lin Feng said, Using formations to break formations, what a wonderful method. Old Man Song, I couldn't help but praise. Then, the experts of the 4 major forces began to gather the formation materials that Lin Feng needed. Lin Feng could also take out these formation materials. However, Lin Feng wouldn't take them out because it was also very difficult for him to gather the formation materials. Moreover, he was the only one who could break the formation. He didn't want to be a fool. The 4 major forces had so many experts. Some of them had lived for tens of millions of years. Their savings were naturally enormous. In addition, they had come to the Stone State ruins this time. They were definitely well prepared. They would definitely be able to take out more than 10,000 formation materials that Lin Feng needed. Sure enough, as Lin Feng had guessed, it didn't take long for the 4 major forces to gather more than 10,000 formation materials that Lin Feng needed. Then, they handed all the formation materials to Lin Feng. Lin Feng began to set up the formation. It took him 3 days. Lin Feng succeeded in setting up the formation. He activated the formation. The formation that was activated by Lin Feng immediately released a powerful power. It directly blasted towards the restriction that enveloped the Stone State ruins. The method of using formations to break formations was a method that Lin Feng had learned from Taoist Wu Liang. This was the top inheritance of the Taoist lineage of moving mountain. Using formations to break formations was to gather all the power of the formation and then break a corner of the opponent's formation. This was the essence of using formations to break formations. This wonderful method of using formations to break formations played an extremely crucial role at this moment. After many consecutive attacks, the sound of cracking could be heard. The restriction that enveloped the Stone State ruins began to gradually crack. After seeing this scene, everyone couldn't help but reveal ecstatic expressions. The formation that Lin Feng had set up continued to attack for 6 hours. Finally, the sound of tearing could be heard. A gap was finally torn open in the formation that enveloped the Stone State ruins. "I didn't let you down." Lin Feng cupped his fists and said to Old Man Song Hai, "Ha ha ha ha, little friend Lin's formation skills are truly superb. This old man admires you." Old Man Song Hai said with a smile. Then Old Man Song Hai continued, "Everyone, there's no time to lose. Let's enter now." Everyone nodded. They quickly entered the interior of the Stone State ruins through the cracked restriction. After entering, they saw dilapidated stone temples appear in front of them. In the distance, it was a dense forest. Stone State ruins. Since it was a country, it naturally couldn't only have one ancient city. A country was made up of ancient cities, mountains, rivers, and so on. Stone State ruins. It was the same. Although the stone temples are dilapidated, we can vaguely see the glory of this place in the past. Old Man Song Hai said. Everyone couldn't help but nod. Everyone was shocked by the stone temples in front of them. The stone temples were one after another, as if they were endless. They couldn't even see the end at a glance. Some of the taller stone temples were even thousands of meters tall. They were all built by piling up huge rocks together. I don't know what happened in the past, but it actually destroyed the Stone State. Lin Feng couldn't help but sigh. The Stone State was the absolute overlord of the starry sky world in the past, but it was suddenly destroyed just like that. There was definitely a huge secret hidden behind it. The answer might be hidden in the Stone State. Old Man Song Hai said, "Come and see, what is this thing?" In the distance, a cultivator from the Yinyang starfield said in shock. Chapter 33:07. Soon, everyone arrived at the Yinyang starfield cultivator. Then they saw something on the ground. It was a broken fragment, and it was a stone fragment. It looks like a severed limb. A severed limb from the Stone Clan. Old Man Song Hai said, "Someone as powerful as the Stone Clan actually had their bodies shattered. What exactly happened? This is shocking." A cultivator said. They were extremely shocked. The Stone Clan had always been synonymous with power. Back then, the Stone State was even more so. They were almost the supreme overlords of the starry sky world. Even the 3 supreme realms were extremely wary of them. Back then, the Stone Clan in the Stone State must have been a peerless and terrifying existence. But now, they found the remains of those Stone Clan creatures. Their bodies were shattered. It turned into pieces and pieces. It was really unbelievable. Back then, an unimaginable battle must have happened here. Then, a cultivator said. Lin Feng said, "Such a huge stone temple is enough to show how prosperous this place was in the past. But now, the stone temple has been completely destroyed. Look around. Maybe there are some shocking clues in the stone temple." Hearing this, everyone nodded. Then, everyone quickly separated. They looked for clues left behind in the stone temple. At the same time, they looked for opportunities in the stone temple. In such a huge stone temple, perhaps there would be some amazing things left behind. Lin Feng, Du Zhu, and the Heretic Supremacy Saint moved together. The cultivators of the other 4 factions also moved separately. It was naturally not appropriate to search for opportunities with others. It was to avoid causing more disputes. Lin Feng used the dragon-searching art and the Khanate 8 trigrams. He deduced the mysteries of this place, that dilapidated ancient temple. Suddenly, Lin Feng looked at a huge temple. Through deduction, he found that the temple was extremely extraordinary. It seemed to hide some shocking secrets. This was his initial deduction, so Lin Feng could not confirm it. He needed to reach the temple and carefully explore it before he could know. Lin Feng quickly flew towards the temple. Du Zhu asked, "Did you discover something?" Lin Feng nodded and said, "Perhaps there really is something extraordinary in the temple." Du Zhu and the others were also overjoyed. Everyone sped up and soon arrived at the outer area of the temple. The stone temple covered an area of more than 10 acres. It was huge, but now it was no longer the same as before. The huge and prosperous stone temple of the past was now completely ruined. Only broken walls and ruins were left. However, he could vaguely feel that there was a faint energy emanating from the stone temple. "Let's search for him," Lin Feng said. Du Zhu, the evil dominator holy sage, and the 2 ghost emperors nodded. Then they quickly split up to search. Not long after, Lin Feng saw something. It was a string of Buddha beads. But what was shocking was that the string of Buddhist beads was actually made of stone. A total of 18 Buddha beads were strung together. Each of the prayer beads was covered with runes. They looked like Buddhist words. Those runes were very ancient, and Lin Feng did not recognize them. The only word Lin Feng recognized on the prayer beads was the word swastika. The word swastika had an extremely special and extraordinary origin in Buddhism. Rumor had it that the master of Buddhism was born with the word swastika. Therefore, the word swastika represented the sacred word of Buddhism. Each of the 18 prayer beads had the word swastika written on them. When exactly was Buddhism established? Did Buddhism already exist in ancient times? Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. His gaze was attracted by the prayer beads. He turned the prayer beads in his hand over and over again. He couldn't help but frown slightly. This string of prayer beads was too extraordinary. It emitted astonishing fluctuations and energy. Lin Feng felt that this string of prayer beads was definitely an incredible treasure. He tried to pour his magic power into the prayer beads, but there was no reaction from the prayer beads. Lin Feng's magic power was like a stone ox entering the sea. It was completely devoured by the prayer beads. "It hasn't changed. Perhaps I'll need some time to study this string of prayer beads." Lin Feng couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. "I found something," Du Zhu exclaimed in the distance. Lin Feng was alerted and quickly rushed over. Du Zhu also found a Buddhist vessel. It was a wooden fish. It was very well preserved and was also made of stone. There were countless runes on it. Du Zhu was very happy because this wooden fish was definitely an amazing treasure. Soon, the heretic Lord Holy and the 2 ghost emperors found something amazing. The heretic Lord Holy found a tattered kasaya. The kasaya was surrounded by holy light. Although it was tattered, it was still extraordinary. The 2 ghost emperors found a pair of Buddha hands. The pair of Buddha hands were very special. They were also made of stone and looked like the broken limbs of a god statue. However, they contained exuberant vitality. Before, Lin Feng had sensed that the temple contained a powerful life force. However, he had never been able to confirm where the vitality was coming from. Now, he was finally able to confirm this point. The vitality was being emitted from the Buddha hands. Lin Feng carefully looked at the Buddha hands obtained by the 2 ghost emperors. He only felt that they were extraordinary, but he couldn't pinpoint exactly what was so extraordinary about them. Let's go. Let's continue to search and see if there are any other gains. Lin Feng said. He quickly rushed into the distance. Du Zhu, the heretic Lord Holy, and the two ghost emperors followed closely behind. Lin Feng had always wanted to find a complete statue of a god in that place. He wanted to see which expert was worshipped in this temple, but unfortunately, he didn't find anything. The temple complex was very large, but there was no complete statue left behind. It was extremely strange. Could this be the place where the Stone State's lord is worshipped? Du Zhu couldn't help but say, of course. He didn't rule out this possibility. After all, the Stone State's lord had single-handedly established this huge and ancient stone state. And this country, it was once incomparably prosperous. Therefore, within the Stone State, it was very normal to cultivate a stone temple that worshipped the Stone State's lord. However, Lin Feng felt that he still needed to continue to confirm this. He needed to find a statue to finally confirm this point. Rumble! At this moment, the ground suddenly shook violently. A large number of dilapidated temples began to collapse. What happened? Lin Feng and the others were shocked. Everyone looked around. The people from the other four major forces also looked around, not understanding what had happened. Suddenly, in the depths of the temple complex, a golden light soared into the sky and disappeared in a flash. Over there, Lin Feng said, and quickly flew towards the depths of the temple complex. Du Zhu, the heretic Lord Holy, and the two ghost emperors. Chapter 33:08. Everyone arrived at the depths of the temple. After arriving here, everyone saw a stone tablet. This stone tablet was 10 meters tall and 5 meters wide. It was covered with blood, just like the blood that had just been poured on it. It was dripping with blood. It was eerie and terrifying, emitting a strong smell of blood. It really made one's hair stand on end. Why is there a stone tablet here? And it's a wordless stone tablet. Everyone was puzzled. They did not understand the origin of this stone tablet. Right at this moment, the blood on the stone tablet seemed to have come to life. A terrifying scene appeared. The blood started to distort. It was like a small worm. It wriggled on the stone tablet. Then, the stone tablet gradually emitted a blood-red light. Look, words have appeared. Someone said, and pointed at the stone tablet. Sure enough, words appeared. They were very blurry and could not be seen clearly. It was unknown what kind of words they were. Old Man Songhai frowned and said, very ancient words. They have long been lost. He had studied many ancient words, but he did not recognize the ancient words on the stone tablet. The ancient words on the stone tablet were filled with a strange and mysterious power. Those ancient words were like a medium. The ancient words communicated with another world. Lin Feng was also observing the ancient words on the stone tablet. There were not many ancient words. Although there were not many, they were incomparably mysterious. The demon lord said, "This is the legendary pre-Buddhist script. It is one of the earliest scripts of Buddhism." Oh, one of the earliest scripts of Buddhism. Buddhism has a long history. I don't even know when it existed in the world. The earliest scripts of Buddhism have probably been lost by now. Lin Feng said. The demon lord said, "It is indeed lost. Back then, I was lucky enough to enter the Great Lane Temple in the Buddhist world. Once in a while, I saw such ancient characters, which were exactly the same as the ancient characters in front of me. However, Buddhism has only mastered a very small number of ancient characters, only a few dozen of them. It's no different from being lost in history." Lin Feng asked, "Does the demon lord recognize the words on the stone tablet?" The demon lord said, "I only know the first word. If that word was changed to the current word, It would be forever, forever, forever. Forever? Lin Feng was surprised. This was a huge clue. He began to activate the mantra of confrontation. Lin Feng activated the true incantation of Lin in his heart as he tried to comprehend the first word on the stone tablet. At the same time, he kept repeating the word forever in his heart. Lin Feng tried to use that as a clue to understand the situation. Perhaps he would be able to comprehend some of its mysteries. He tried many times, but failed every time. However, Lin Feng did not give up. After 145 attempts, he finally succeeded. Lin Feng felt as if he had arrived in an ancient and boundless world. Where he was, it was an ancient temple. In this temple, it was the dilapidated stone temple. However, the stone temple that Lin Feng saw had not been ruined yet. It was preserved very well. Above the 9 heavens, endless thunderclouds seemed to cover the sky. Inside the stone temple, cultivators constantly rushed into the sky. They charged into the thunderclouds. There was a huge battle that broke out in the thunderclouds. Then, those cultivators fell one after another. Dead cultivators. There were humans, demons, and demons. However, most of them were monks. This was a terrifying battle. Who knew how many people had died? The living beings in the thunderclouds had never appeared in the world. Namo Amit Ba. Suddenly, a majestic voice resounded between heaven and earth. Then, an old monk walked out of a temple. The old monk was surrounded by endless Buddhist light. What was shocking was that half of the old monk's body was flesh and blood, while the other half was stone. Stone Clan. Lin Feng could not help but be shocked. The old monk was a member of the Stone Clan. It was Lin Feng's first time seeing a member of the Stone Clan become a monk. Usually, only those who had seen through the world of mortals would become monks. Could it be that the old monk had already seen through the world of mortals? Clearly, the old monk had reached an extremely critical moment. However, Lin Feng did not know which stage of transformation the old monk was going through. Usually, the transformation of the Stone Clan was divided into 2 stages. The stone body grew flesh and blood and turned into flesh and blood. The flesh and blood turned into stone and turned into stone again. This transformation, it was an extremely difficult transformation. However, if one could succeed, one's level of life, potential, and so on would be greatly improved. Furthermore, one's combat strength would increase to an unimaginable level. This was the special evolution path of the Stone Clan. When the Stone Clan was transforming, the most taboo thing was to be disturbed by others. But now, the old monk took the initiative to come out because danger had arrived. The old monk could not continue transforming. Rumble! Suddenly, a huge palm condensed in the thunderclouds and struck towards the old monk. No one knew what kind of living being was attacking. The palm condensed in the thunderclouds was extremely terrifying. It was as if it could freeze the void. That kind of power was enough to make one's face pale. The old monk put his palms together, and endless Buddhist light surged out of his body. Then, the Buddhist light condensed into a Buddhist light hand. At the center of the palm of the Buddhist light hand, there was a swastika written on it. That swastika, it was surrounded by endless holy light and looked extremely holy. Bam! The 2 huge hands collided, and then both of them were annihilated. Die! Die! A cold voice suddenly came from the thunderclouds, filled with endless majesty and killing intent. It was like the might of the heavens. The might of the heavens was vast. There was no way to fight against it, even if it was just his consciousness that sensed everything that was happening here. Lin Feng still felt his soul trembling. It was hard to imagine how strong that terrifying existence was. It was definitely an invincible existence. It was shocking. It was frightening. The heavens want me dead. I'll slaughter the heavens. The old monk's voice was cold. Shameless boasting. A contemptuous voice came from the thunderclouds, as if it did not care about the old monk's words. Swish! A light flashed, and a stone tablet appeared. The stone tablet was surrounded by holy light. There were some ancient words on the stone tablet. Although there were not many, they were all extraordinary and contained terrifying power. This is a blood-stained stone tablet. Lin Feng was shocked. The stone tablet that the old monk took out was exactly the same as the one that was stained with blood. It was just that the stone tablet that the old monk took out was not stained with blood. Eternal suppression of the yellow springs. The old monk could not help but shout out. He carried the stone tablet. Then he rushed towards the thunderclouds. At this moment, all the images disappeared. Lin Feng's consciousness returned to reality. He opened his eyes and looked at the blood-stained stone tablet in shock. Those 4 words. Could it be the words that the old monk said? Eternal suppression of the yellow springs. The blood on the stone tablet. Chapter 33:09. Let me see what's so special about this stone tablet. Wang Yanming said. He was about to step forward. He wanted to shake the stone tablet. Don't touch the stone tablet. Lin Feng said hurriedly. Why? Everyone looked at Lin Feng in confusion, because Lin Feng had previously displayed extremely high attainments in formations. Therefore, now, the cultivators of the 4 factions still attached great importance to Lin Feng's words. Although Wang Yanming couldn't wait to cut Lin Feng into 1,000 pieces. But in reality, Wang Yanming, he took Lin Feng's words very seriously. He also attached great importance to it because it could be related to his life. These 4 big words are the words eternal suppression of the yellow springs. Lin Feng said, eternal suppression of the yellow springs? What does that mean? Everyone revealed a puzzled expression. Eternal suppression of the yellow springs was full of doubts. It made people wonder how many secrets and dangers were hidden in it. Obviously, this wasn't as simple as just a few words. There might be great danger behind it. Lin Feng didn't intend to hide what he had seen from these people. He said, just now, when I was comprehending these ancient words, I was able to sense an ancient world. In this world, a terrifying battle broke out, and the location of the battle was right here in the group of temples we are in. Everyone was shocked. Old man, Sanhai asked, what was the final result of that battle? That was an incomparably tragic battle. Who knows how many people died? Countless cultivators rushed into the clouds. They entered the thunderclouds and fought with unknown existences. However, corpses fell from the sky one after another, and cultivators died tragically. The last Stone Clan monk who was undergoing a transformation appeared. He had reached a critical moment in his transformation. Half of his body was made of stone, and the other half was made of flesh and blood. But now he had no choice but to come out early. That monk took out a stone tablet, which was the eternal suppression of the yellow springs. That monk carried the stone tablet and charged into the thunderclouds. The images I saw disappeared at this point. I don't know what happened after that. After hearing Lin Feng's words, everyone was deeply shocked. What Lin Feng was reading was probably about what had happened back then. Perhaps the truth behind the Stone State's destruction was in that battle. But what could he do? Lin Feng wasn't able to see any more content. This fresh blood, is it the old monk's blood? The female cultivator from Bright Moon couldn't help but ask. This female cultivator from the Bright Moon Star area looked to be in her 30s. Her figure was plump and charming. She was different from Su Jiamei and Su Jiaoyue. This woman's temperament was very cold. He had always been cold. That kind of temperament made people not dare to approach him. This female cultivator was called Nangong Xianwu. His cultivation was also unfathomable. Lin Feng felt that this female cultivator was most likely an Emperor sect level expert. That might be possible, but I'm not sure, because I wasn't able to see what happened after that. Lin Feng couldn't help but say. Then he continued, "This steel clearly wasn't placed here. It was suppressed here. I vaguely feel that there's something terrifying suppressed under this steel." This feeling was very strong. Therefore, Lin Feng spoke of this feeling at this moment. He didn't want anyone to have any ideas about the steel. The Eternal Suppression Yellow Springs steel might be extraordinary, but it couldn't be touched, because there might be dangers that couldn't be dealt with. If such a danger really appeared, no one knew what terrible things would happen. Perhaps many people would die here. Could it be that a terrifying existence that attacked the Stone State in the past was suppressed here? Now that so many years have passed, could this existence have been suppressed to death here? Even if it wasn't suppressed to death here, after such a long time, it shouldn't have much battle strength left, right? One of the cultivators said, voicing his thoughts. Since this cultivator suggested such a thing, he probably wanted to move the Eternal Suppression Yellow Springs steel. Lin Feng said, "There's no need to take this risk." Everyone discussed for a while. In the end, they made a decision to ignore the steel. Lin Feng persisted because the steel made him feel very uneasy. So, everyone followed Lin Feng's idea. Everyone spread out and continued to search for treasures left behind in the huge temple complex. However, they found nothing. Perhaps this place really didn't have any other treasures left behind. However, Lin Feng was already very satisfied with the string of stone prayer beads he obtained earlier. 2 hours later, everyone gathered together and planned to leave this place. The Stone State was so big, if they couldn't find anything good in the temple complex, they could go elsewhere to search. Just as they left the temple complex, an extremely terrifying aura was emitted from the temple complex. Next, endless thunderclouds soared into the sky. Not good. Someone moved the Eternal Suppression Yellow Springs steel. Lin Feng's expression suddenly changed. Inside the temple complex, several hundred cultivators appeared. These cultivators' clothes were all printed with a special pattern. That picture was a picture of a skull. This was the 42nd ranked skeleton bandit group in the Starry Sky world. The leader of the skeleton bandit group was the Skeleton Great Emperor. He was an Emperor-level expert and was extremely terrifying. Moreover, there were more than 20 great Emperor-level experts in the skeleton bandit group. This was an extremely powerful bandit group. It was unknown how these people came in. However, since the 100 Joy Pavilion, Bright Moon Star region, Thousand Fiend Star region, and Yin Yang Star region were able to discover the secret of the star hole hidden in the Stone State ruins, it was naturally not strange for the other forces to discover the secret here. Moreover, perhaps there were insiders among the 4 major powers who would sell this important information to others. There were many such people, because selling such an important piece of information, the reward was absolutely unimaginable. The person who moved the Eternal Suppression Yellow Springs steel was the deputy leader of the Skeleton Bandit group. This person was called Sun Shizong. He was a Confucian cultivator. He looked very refined. It was Sun Shizong who moved the Eternal Suppression Yellow Springs steel, causing the change. Quickly retreat, Sun Shizong said in a deep voice. Hundreds of Skeleton Bandit group cultivators retreated. Lin Feng and the others also stood in the distance and watched the change in the temple complex. The ground cracked open. Endless thunderclouds surged out. They rolled violently in midair. A huge mushroom cloud was formed. A thundercloud-like pillar connected the cracked ground and the mushroom cloud. Keek, keek, suddenly, chapter 33:10. When she heard the sinister laughter, she was stunned. Everyone's faces. They couldn't help but reveal a shocked expression. Especially Lin Feng and the others, their expressions changed drastically. This was because Lin Feng had some enlightenment and saw some images. So, everyone thought of the battle back then. Now it seemed that it was really as Lin Feng had guessed. An ancient existence was suppressed under the eternal suppression Yellow Springs monument. That existence, it was very likely that it was one of the existences that attacked the Stone State back then. Look, it's out. Duzu pointed at the thundercloud-like pillar. No one knew when it started. A terrifying creature appeared in front of everyone. Lin Feng saw that terrifying existence. It was an extremely strange creature. The body of a human, the head of an octopus, and the head was covered with dense tentacles, just like the tentacles of an octopus. It was extremely terrifying. It was horrifying. No one knew what kind of creature it was. This is a creature that walked out of the wasteland. The demon lord said, "What? A creature that walked out of the wasteland?" Lin Feng's face suddenly revealed an extremely shocked expression. The wasteland. It was a special place. It didn't belong to this starry sky universe. It didn't belong to the foreign world either. The wasteland was connected to the foreign world's passageway, which was connected to the three supreme realms. It was a very special place. Even now, Lin Feng still remembered that a powerful existence like the great Emperor Lord Grimm had fallen in the wasteland. It was a place that gods and demons revered. It was a place that was enough to bury countless creatures. The great emperor, even the immortals, entering the wasteland, it was very likely that they would die there. No one knew the origin of the independent world of the wasteland. Lin Feng didn't know where that world was. With his cultivation, he couldn't come into contact with everything about the wasteland. But Lin Feng knew a creature that walked out of the wasteland was definitely an extremely terrifying existence. The demon lord now said that the monster was a creature that walked out of the wasteland. This made Lin Feng think of many things. Could it be the one who destroyed the Stone State? Were they cultivators from the wasteland? With this in mind, Lin Feng asked, could it be that the Stone State was destroyed by the wastelands? The creatures in the wasteland won't easily leave the wasteland. However, only a certain kind of creature would leave the wasteland. The demon lord said, "What creature?" Lin Feng asked. "Those who betray the wasteland will choose to join some large organizations after leaving the wasteland. I wonder if this wasteland creature is in the same situation." The demon lord said, "Can you tell me more about the situation in the wasteland?" Lin Feng asked. He thought about the specific situation of the wasteland that he had obtained from the demon lord. Because the demon lord's words were too vague, Lin Feng only knew that the wasteland was a very scary place. Experts were as common as clouds. It was a place where countless emperors and immortals were buried. However, Lin Feng didn't know how the powers in the wasteland were divided. The demon lord said, "There are some things that you still don't know. It won't do you any good to know." After hearing the demon lord's words, Lin Feng couldn't help but roll his eyes. However, he also felt a little helpless. Lin Feng knew too well what kind of person the demon lord was, since he didn't want to talk about it. No matter how he asked, the demon lord definitely wouldn't say anything. "Lowly creature, thank you for letting this lord out. In order to repay you, this lord has decided to devour all of you." The wasteland creature looked at the group of cultivators from the skeleton bandits with a sinister gaze. Reckless fool. Let's attack together and kill him. Sun Shizong's voice was cold. Although Sun Shizong was a Confucian expert, he had abandoned himself. He became a space bandit. When the Skeleton Mercenary Group was founded, he was one of the founding members. All these years, what kind of storms had Sun Shizong not experienced? Back then, the 9 great space bandit groups had even attacked a great world, then burned and looted it before successfully escaping. Therefore, Sun Shizong, who was used to seeing big scenes, was very calm. Hundreds of experts from the skeleton bandits attacked, wanting to kill the wasteland creature. But at this time, the wasteland creature opened its mouth and sucked. Huff, 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 huff. The bandits of the skeleton bandits unleashed all kinds of attacks, all kinds of magic treasures. They were all devoured by the wasteland creature. Next time, it will be your turn. The taste of flesh and blood. How nostalgic. The wasteland creature let out a sinister laugh. He opened his mouth again and sucked. Huff, 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 huff. The powerful suction force surged out once again. This time, it directly engulfed a group of cultivators. The cultivators of the skeleton bandits couldn't resist the wasteland creature's devouring. Many cultivators' bodies flew uncontrollably towards the wasteland creature. When they got close to the wasteland creature, their bodies began to shrink. Then, they were swallowed by the wasteland creature. Crunch, crunch! The wasteland creature began to chew, and screams could be heard. The cultivators who were devoured by the wasteland creature were directly bitten to death. They became the wasteland creature's food. Blood flowed down the wasteland creature's mouth. Hurry up and leave. Seeing this scene, Sun Shizong's expression changed greatly. More than half of the hundreds of people had been devoured. He led the rest, wanting to quickly escape. The wasteland being laughed sinisterly. Delicious! Truly delicious. Now, it's not a place where you can leave as you wish. As soon as he finished speaking, endless lightning clouds enveloped Sun Shizong and the rest of the skeleton bandits. We can't stay here for long. Let's go. Old man Tsang. I couldn't help but take a deep breath, then said in a deep voice. Everyone nodded and hurriedly left this place. Rumor has it that the Stone State has an imperial city. We need to find the imperial city. As long as we find the imperial city, we can find the Stone State's treasury. Old man Tsang, I said on the way. The Stone State's monarch was so powerful back then. There must be countless treasures in the treasury he built. Moreover, there might even be the Stone State's monarch's legacy. These things were extremely attractive. Everyone increased their speed. Then, they quickly headed toward the depths of the Stone State. Not long after, they saw a black ocean appear in front of them. Everyone soared into the sky and flew above the black ocean. They wanted to fly across the black ocean. Roar! A high-pitched dragon roar resounded through the clouds. Then, a black demonic dragon appeared in the depths of the black ocean. The black demonic dragon was extremely fast, quickly disappearing from sight. Everyone was shocked and quickly chased after it. Not long after, they saw an island. On the island, there were many palaces. The palaces there were extremely well preserved. This place hasn't been destroyed. Could there be something amazing left behind? Someone asked, unable to suppress the joy in his heart. Chapter 33:11. On the island, there were many palaces surrounded by holy light. It was a sacred place. Everyone flew over and landed. They heard waves of immortal music intertwining in their ears. It was beautiful. It was very pleasant to hear. It's really an extraordinary place. Who lived here in the past? Lin Feng couldn't help but say, back then, the Stone State was incomparably prosperous. Therefore, there were many experts in the Stone State. Other than the supreme king of the Stone State, there were also some other mighty figures. They also had a world-shaking reputation. If they couldn't find the treasures or orthodoxies left behind by the king of the Stone State, finding these people's things, it was precious enough. Lin Feng's biggest purpose for coming here was to find the 3,000 Great Tao. He had now obtained 578 of the 3,000 Great Tao. The 3,000 Great Tao before Lin Feng became an emperor. There was still a certain gap. And although Lin Feng's goal was to cultivate 1,000 types of 3,000 Great Tao before becoming an emperor, but the more of the 3,000 Great Tao he cultivated, the better. The more. Lin Feng's Great Tao Foundation was getting stronger. Then, the more his combat strength would increase when he broke through to the Great Emperor realm. His potential would also be greater. His future achievements would also be higher. Therefore, Lin Feng had been searching for these 3,000 Great Tao. Let's split up and search for our own opportunities. Old Man Songhai said. In order to avoid conflict, everyone was the same as before. They chose to split up and search for various opportunities. Lin Feng, Du Zhu, Evil Lord Saint, and the two ghost emperors went together. After the 5 of them chose a direction, then they quickly walked over. Lin Feng was proficient in the dragon searching formula, and he had recently cultivated the Khanate 8 trigrams. Although he wasn't particularly proficient in the Khanate 8 trigrams, but he had already reached a higher level. Therefore, now, with the help of the dragon searching formula and the Khanate 8 trigrams, these two powerful techniques, Lin Feng was able to lock onto the best treasure hunting location as soon as possible. This time, the palace that Lin Feng chose was a rather ordinary one. The palace was ordinary, but perhaps the things inside weren't ordinary. The 5 of them arrived in front of the palace and directly opened the door. A decaying aura gushed out from the palace. The 5 of them entered the palace and saw the corpses in the palace. There were dozens of corpses lying here. Moreover, these corpses had already become dried corpses. Time passed. Powerful as they were, his body had already decayed. They were all experts of the past. How did they die here? Lin Feng couldn't help but cautiously size up this palace. They had to be on guard against any terrifying dangers. But fortunately, there was no danger, which made him feel slightly relieved. We can't be careless in a place like this. Lin Feng said. Du Zhu, the heretic sovereign holy sage, and the two ghost emperors nodded. Then, everyone walked towards the corpses. The storage ring of the dead expert was still there. Lin Feng arrived in front of a corpse. Then, he took off the storage ring from the corpse. Lin Feng tried to invade the storage ring with his divine sense. Let's see if there are any treasures in the storage ring. However, it was a pity. The storage ring had been destroyed. Time was the quickest to age. It seemed that there was nothing that time couldn't destroy. Du Zhu, the heretic sovereign holy sage, and the two ghost emperors each checked a storage ring. The storage rings they checked were the same as the storage rings Lin Feng checked. They were all destroyed. What a pity! These cultivators must have been incomparably powerful in the past. There must have been a lot of good things in the storage rings, but now they are all destroyed. Lin Feng checked 5 or 6 storage rings in succession. The situation was exactly the same as the first storage ring. The storage rings that he had been looking at, they were all destroyed. It was a pity. Finally, Lin Feng's gaze landed on the altar. There were 3 statues on the altar. On the left and right were 2 guardian boys. They weren't old, only in their teens. The one in the middle. Instead, he was worshipping an extremely strange creature. This creature had a human body, but it had 9 heads. The strangest thing was that this creature's head wasn't a human head. It was a lizard's head. It was a statue of a god with a human body and a lizard's head. This is a nine-headed lizard. In the past, this race was extremely powerful. It's said that their ancestor was also a sentient life form. However, during the primordial era, this race was completely wiped out. I never thought that this temple would actually worship such a statue. The demon lord said. Lin Feng was extremely shocked. He hadn't thought that this strange creature would be from such an extraordinary race. The three of them searched for treasures in the temple, but after a long time, they found nothing. Did we find the wrong place? Lin Feng couldn't help but frown. He used the dragon-seeking incantation to locate it. He also used the Sciention 8 trigrams to deduce. The location he found was within this temple. There seemed to be something extraordinary here, but until now, he hadn't found anything. Could there be something in the statue? Duzu asked. He wanted to smash the statue to pieces. Lin Feng's eyes lit up, and he said, "Let's smash the statue to see what it is." Duzu quickly walked forward and smashed the statues of the two boys on the left and right, but he found nothing. Next, Duzu smashed the nine-headed lizard statue in the middle. The moment the nine-headed lizard statue was smashed, a cold light quickly flew toward Duzu. It was simply too fast. In an instant, it arrived in front of Duzu. It was actually a nine-headed lizard with a pitch-black body. The nine-headed lizard opened its mouth and bit at Duzu. Each of its teeth contained a lethal poison. The poison ancestor's eyes were sharp and his hands were fast as he grabbed the nine-headed lizard. The nine-headed lizard took a bite out of Duzu's hand. Duzu's body quickly turned black. Lin Feng was shocked when he saw this. Wasn't the nine-headed lizard's poison too terrifying? In other words, it was Duzu. If it were someone else who was bitten by the nine-headed lizard, most likely he was already dead. This little thing's poison is so terrifying, Duzu said as he sealed the nine-headed lizard. At this moment, kacha, kacha, kacha sounds suddenly came from behind. Lin Feng's group of 5 was alarmed. They all turned around to look. They saw that the dozens of dried corpses lying on the ground had all stood up. Each of the dried corpses was moving their bodies. The kacha, kacha, kacha sounds were also coming from these dried corpses when they moved their bodies. The eyes of the dried corpses flickered with a blood-red light. Their auras were extremely powerful. Now, these dried corpses surrounded Lin Feng's group of 5. How did these dried corpses come to life? Duzu's voice changed slightly. The situation here doesn't seem right. It's not as peaceful as we thought. Everyone, be careful, Lin Feng said in a deep voice, and quickly took out the black dragon sword. Screech, at this moment, Chapter 33:12. Bam! The two sides immediately engaged in a great battle. Lin Feng held the black dragon sword and clashed with a mummy. A dull sound of collision was heard. Next, the mummy was sent flying by Lin Feng. However, the mummy's body was not destroyed, which shocked Lin Feng. The body of this mummy was too strong. It was unbelievable that it could block the attack of the black dragon sword. Dozens of mummies surrounded Lin Feng, and the other 4, the 5 of them did not hold back at all. They attacked with all their might. Clang, 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 Lin Feng's mana continued to pour into the black dragon sword. The power of the black dragon sword increased greatly. Lin Feng seemed to have the help of a god. One strike after another, he collided with these mummies. Although these mummies had strong bodies, they could only withstand 4 or 5 attacks from the black dragon sword. They were about to be completely destroyed by the black dragon sword. Duzu, the evil sovereign saint, and the two ghost emperors also used their own methods to destroy the mummies one by one. In the end, the dozens of mummies were all destroyed by Lin Feng and the others. These mummies seem to have been possessed. It's really strange. The evil sovereign saint could not help but say, Lin Feng said, "Looks like something is going to happen." As the sound of his voice faded, Lin Feng swept his sword towards the stone statue in the middle of the shrine. Although Du Zhu did not find anything in the stone statue just now, Lin Feng still felt that there might be some treasures in the stone statue. So now he needed to take a closer look to confirm if there really was a treasure. Clang! The stone statue was completely shattered. Something fell to the ground. Lin Feng revealed a look of joy. There really was something. He quickly walked forward and picked up the item. Then he took a closer look. He discovered this thing. It was actually a golden box. This box was very special. There were densely packed runes on it, although the golden box was only the size of a palm. It was locked. Lin Feng tried to open the small lock on the golden box, but he tried many times. All of them ended in failure. This golden box is very unusual, Du Zhu said. Lin Feng nodded. He threw the golden box on the ground and waved the black dragon sword. He slashed out with his sword. Clang! The attack slammed into the golden box. Then there was a clanging sound. The golden box was too sturdy. Even a supreme treasure, like the black dragon sword, could not break it. It was truly unbelievable. It was hard to imagine how sturdy the golden box was. I can't open it. It seems like I need to find some time to study this golden box. Perhaps the method to open the golden box lies in those mysterious runes. Lin Feng said. He put the golden box away. Then Du Zhu, the heretic sovereign saint, and the two ghost emperors walked out. When they came out, their faces changed slightly because the island was surrounded by darkness. The sky suddenly darkened. Something strange must have happened. The cultivators from the other four great powers had also noticed this strange change. The cultivators from the four great powers quickly gathered together. Lin Feng's group of 5 met up with the cultivators from the four great powers. Lin Feng said in a deep voice, "It seems that we need to leave this place quickly. This place is too strange." No one objected to this suggestion. Everyone quickly rushed outside. However, at this moment, darkness enveloped the world. Soon, it became so dark that one couldn't see their fingers. This kind of darkness was very strange. It could block the cultivator's vision. For example, Lin Feng. Originally, even at night, Lin Feng could see the scene dozens of miles away. This was the night vision ability of cultivators. If one used their divine sense to explore, they could clearly see the scene hundreds of miles away. However, on this island, Lin Feng's night vision ability was completely lost. He couldn't even see the scene 3 meters away. And Lin Feng's divine sense was also suppressed. He lost the ability to patrol the sky. Lin Feng wasn't the only one who was in such a situation. Everybody else was in the same situation. Listen to the sound to determine the location. Quickly leave this place. Old man Tsang, Hai said in a low voice. This place was very unsettling. No one wanted to stay here any longer. Poof! Suddenly, something was flying through the darkness at an extremely fast speed. That mysterious thing pierced through a cultivator's chest. Ah! A scream was heard. That cultivator immediately fell to the ground. His body didn't move. What happened? No one knew what happened in the darkness. This was because everyone's night vision and divine telekinesis had been suppressed. So everyone was confused. Then, a group of people quickly surrounded the dead cultivator to check his wounds. Swoosh! Suddenly, something came out from the dead cultivator's body. Before anyone could even see what it had already pierced through the chest of a second cultivator. The second cultivator didn't even have time to scream before he died. This caused everyone's expression to become unsightly. What kind of thing could be so strange? Everyone's heart couldn't help but sink. Everyone quickly retreated. Old Man Song Hai shot out a strand of magic power and wrapped around the dead cultivator's body. He wanted to force that unknown creature out. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Old Man Song Hai captured the creature that had killed the two cultivators one after another. Nine-headed lizard. Lin Feng couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. It turned out to be a nine-headed lizard. Previously, when they were in the palace, Du Su had been attacked by a nine-headed lizard. Originally, Lin Feng thought that it was just an isolated case. But now, it seemed that wasn't the case. The nine-headed lizard here, it was definitely not as simple as one or two. Quick, take out your defensive magic treasures to protect yourselves. Old Man Song Hai said in a deep voice. His expression was extremely solemn. The nine-headed lizard was too terrifying. It gave people a feeling of fear and trepidation. No one dared to hesitate. They all took out their defensive magic treasures to protect themselves. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Everyone quickly rushed out of the island, wanting to leave this island as soon as possible. Rustling sounds could be heard. It was as if something was crawling up from the ground. Right now, everyone's spiritual will and vision were suppressed too much. They could only distinguish by the sound. However, just by listening to the sound, many things were still impossible to judge. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The sound of air being torn apart could be heard. Streaks of cold light quickly rushed towards Lin Feng and the others. Those streaks of cold light were all transformed from the nine-headed lizard. The attacks of those nine-headed lizards were extremely powerful. Puff, puff, puff. Tearing sounds could be heard one after another. The defensive magic treasures of the cultivators were penetrated by the nine-headed lizard's cold light. Then, the chests of those cultivators were also penetrated by the nine-headed lizard's cold light. One cultivator after another fell. Chapter 33:13. The nine-headed lizard's attack was simply too powerful. Ordinary cultivators couldn't withstand the nine-headed lizard's attack at all. Clang, 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 clang. The nine-headed lizard slammed into Lin Feng's protective light shield. The Heavenly Mystery Pagoda's defense was strong enough. It blocked the nine-headed lizard's attack. The evil Dominator Saint fought the nine-headed lizard with his physical body. The evil Dominator Saint's physical body was indeed strong. He was indeed a zombie demon transformed from an emperor's corpse. And he had reincarnated and cultivated again. Lin Feng was stupefied by such a monstrous strength. When the nine-headed lizard struck the evil Dominator Saint's body, the evil Dominator Saint was stunned. Clang, 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 clang. The nine-headed lizard didn't cause any damage to the evil Dominator Saint. Instead, it was the evil Dominator Saint who sent the nine-headed lizards flying. Clang, clang. The nine-headed lizards fell to the ground one by one. However, the nine-headed lizard's physical body was extremely strong. Although it took a terrifying attack from the evil Dominator Saint, it didn't suffer any damage. Du Su was a natural counter to the nine-headed lizard, so there was no problem. The two ghost emperors hadn't condensed a physical body yet. The nine-headed lizard couldn't hurt them. Lin Feng and the others didn't suffer any damage. But the others didn't. The others suffered great damage from the nine-headed lizard's attack. People kept dying. The four forces suffered heavy casualties. Fortunately, everyone was about to rush out of the island, just as they were about to rush out. But at this moment, however, an unforeseen event occurred. A low roar suddenly resounded between heaven and earth. It was as if some ancient existence had awakened from a deep sleep. The scene in front of them suddenly changed. The darkness in front of them dissipated. Everyone could finally see some of the surrounding scenes. They saw that the palaces had become dilapidated palaces. Many of the palaces were stained with blood, and there were corpses everywhere on the ground. Illusion. Seeing the sudden change in the scene, Lin Feng's expression changed slightly. It's not an illusion. What we saw before was an illusion, but now it's real. The demon lord said. After hearing the demon lord's words, Lin Feng's expression changed greatly. The demon lord's words were simply too shocking. If that was the case, it was truly shocking. This was because Lin Feng and the others had an emperor realm master overseeing them. Could it be that even old man Song Hai was fooled? Generally, illusions were created by illusory arrays. Among the many formations, the illusory formation was obviously a relatively low-level formation. To be able to use such a low-level formation to deceive everyone, this ability, it was enough to be described as shocking. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Suddenly, a series of deep voices resounded between heaven and earth. When they heard that deep voice, everyone felt as if they had fallen into an abyss. He had only heard the voice of that supreme being. He had yet to see what kind of creature that existence was. It was already so shocking. So, it was hard to imagine how terrifying that existence was. The air seemed to have frozen. Thump, 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 thump. Heart. Lin Feng hurriedly covered his chest. He found that his heart was beating very fast. He even felt that his chest was about to split open. This feeling was too painful. Bang, bang, bang. And at this moment, the chests of the cultivators exploded. Those cultivators who were slightly weaker, they couldn't withstand that terrifying oppressive force at all. They all died tragically. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Then, the densely packed nine-headed lizards rushed towards those corpses and began to gnaw on them. Those nine-headed lizards were very small. The smallest nine-headed lizard was only as long as a finger. The larger nine-headed lizards were about 10 centimeters long. Hurry up and come with me. Lin Feng looked at Du Zhu, the evil sovereign saint, and the two ghost emperors. He activated his magnetic field and blocked that terrifying oppressive force. Du Zhu, the evil sovereign saint, and the two ghost emperors were in Lin Feng's magnetic field, and the pressure on their bodies was reduced by a lot. Lin Feng brought the four of them and quickly rushed outside. Now that a great disaster was about to befall them, they flew separately. They couldn't care less about the others. Everyone, good luck. The experts of the other four forces also took action to protect their cultivators. They each chose a direction to break out of the encirclement. At this moment, a figure appeared in the darkness. That figure, from illusory, it became real. After seeing that figure, Lin Feng's expression changed drastically. It was a creature with a human body and a lizard head. There were a total of 9 lizard heads. Each of the lizard heads had a sinister and terrifying look in their eyes. Is it that 9-headed lizard that was worshipped? Lin Feng couldn't help but think, but very quickly, Lin Feng realized that it wasn't that lizard, because the 9-headed lizard that was worshipped in the side hall was a male lizard, and this lizard in front of him didn't look at the head. If he only looked at the body, it was obviously a woman's body, and it was very graceful and moving. But if it was coupled with those 9 lizard heads, it would look ferocious and terrifying. I'm from hell. A sinister and terrifying aura spread between heaven and earth. Then, waves of terrifying fluctuations swept through heaven and earth. That fluctuation had an extremely powerful attack power. It was shocking and moving. Bang, bang, bang. That fluctuation was an indiscriminate attack, so everyone was hit, including Lin Feng. After being hit by that terrifying fluctuation, kacha-kacha sounds were heard. The magnetic field was actually destroyed, and Lin Feng and the others were sent flying. This is too terrifying. Lin Feng's face revealed a shocked expression. That creature was so powerful, it was simply unimaginable. In the distance, even the most powerful emperor-level powerhouse, Old Man Songhai, couldn't withstand the nine-headed lizard's attack and was also swept away. Many cultivators' bodies directly exploded, and they died tragically on the spot. The situation in front of them was really despairing. As for that terrifying existence, it continued to step forward. Terrifying power spread out again, and for the second time, it suppressed everyone. Many people couldn't help but feel a deep sense of despair. And just at this extremely dangerous moment, a terrifying creature appeared in this place. It turned out to be the creature in the wasteland. You're not dead yet? I'll send you to hell. Chapter 33:14. Bang! Along with the sound of a violent collision, the two sides fiercely clashed together. The powerful collision caused the entire island to shake violently. Everyone was shocked. They did not understand why the wasteland creature was fighting the nine-headed lizard queen. However, the battle between the two terrifying creatures gave Lin Feng and the rest a chance to escape. Despicable thing, you've been suppressed for so many years, and you're still not dead. The nine-headed lizard queen's cold voice could be heard. His voice contained a monstrous killing intent. The wasteland creature said coldly, "Filthy thing, aren't you cursed? Why haven't you completely lost yourself?" These two creatures were so powerful, but now they were attacking each other. Something unknown must have happened in the past to make them attack each other. However, this was destined to be a secret. Ordinary people would not know the secret of the past. Lin Feng and the rest were not interested in knowing what happened between these two terrifying creatures that caused them to fight to the death after so many years. Now, Lin Feng and the rest only wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. Bang, bang, bang. The two terrifying creatures clashed fiercely. Every time they clashed, the earth would shake. Their battle prowess was so strong that it was shocking. If it was someone else fighting with them, they would have died countless times. Destroy them first. Suddenly, the two terrifying creatures spoke at the same time. Although they were fighting to the death, these two terrifying creatures did not want to let Lin Feng and the rest go so easily. Whoosh, whoosh. The two terrifying creatures quickly chased after the group. Boom, boom. Then the two terrifying creatures attacked. The nine-headed lizard queen spat out energy balls one after another. A total of 9 energy balls were spat out. Each energy ball contained the power to destroy heaven and earth. The wasteland creature gently waved its claws. Whoosh! Suddenly, claw lights flew out one after another. The dense claw lights instantly tore apart heaven and earth. They were so powerful, people couldn't help but shudder in fear. Bang, bang, bang. The bodies of the cultivators exploded under the nine-headed lizard queen's attack. They died on the spot. After their bodies exploded, the nine-headed lizard queen directly devoured the blood chi that was formed from their exploding bodies. Puff, puff, puff. At the same time, the sound of tearing could be heard, under the attack of the wasteland creature. The cultivators' bodies were torn apart by the wasteland creature. Then, The cultivators were devoured by the wasteland creature. A large number of cultivators died. Many people could not help but reveal a deep look of despair. In their opinion, it was impossible to escape. They could not see any hope of escaping. Therefore, many people were in despair. Lin Feng and the rest were targeted. Not bad, not bad. For great sovereigns. That kid, who hasn't even become a great sovereign, has such a powerful bloodline. The wasteland creature looked at Lin's group. He quickly flew towards Lin Feng and the rest. A terrifying aura. It was suffocating. The creatures of the wasteland were too powerful. There was simply no way to resist. We'll stop him. Zhu. The evil dominator saint shouted. Those two people were loyal and devoted to Lin Feng. Now that they saw the wasteland creature chasing after them, they would rather sacrifice themselves. They also wanted to give Lin Feng a chance to escape. The two ghost emperors hesitated for a moment. They quickly said, "Young master, leave quickly. We will definitely hold it back." The two ghost emperors had no choice but to acknowledge Lin Feng as their master, but they only agreed to serve Lin Feng for 100 years. But after following Lin Feng, the two ghost emperors realized Lin Feng did not look at them as if they were slaves. Lin Feng was very sincere to them, and he had been helping them to break through their cultivation. So, the two ghost emperors gradually became convinced of Lin Feng. Now, they were very loyal to Lin Feng. Of course, compared to Du Zhu, the evil dominator saint was more loyal to Lin Feng. The two ghost emperors might be a little worse. This was because Du Zhu and the evil dominator saint had followed Lin Feng for a long time. The fact that the two ghost emperors were willing to die for Lin Feng was enough to show their loyalty to Lin Feng. The two ghost emperors originally thought that he was afraid of death, but they didn't know until now. They were actually willing to die for others. Du Zhu, the evil dominator saint, and the two ghost emperors' voices fell. The four of them turned around and pounced towards the wasteland creature that was chasing after them. At this moment, Lin Feng was incomparably touched. To have such loyal and devoted subordinates, Li Tianlan thought, it was truly a blessing in life. How could he bear to watch Du Zhu, the evil dominator saint, and the two ghost emperors die in the hands of the wasteland creature? Therefore, Lin Feng opened his hand, and a powerful mana enveloped Du Zhu, the evil dominator saint, and the two ghost emperors. Then, Lin Feng instantly activated a void teleportation array. The void teleportation array enveloped Du Zhu, the evil dominator saint, and the two ghost emperors. Then, it wrapped them up and was about to send them out. Void teleportation array. Humph! What wishful thinking! You can't escape! The wasteland creature let out a contemptuous sneer. Then, he opened his hand and attacked Du Zhu and the other three who were enveloped by the void teleportation power. Lin Feng held the black dragon sword and quickly charged towards the wasteland creature. Young master, Du Zhu, the evil dominator saint, and the two ghost emperors couldn't help but have their eyes pop out of their sockets. They wanted to rush out and fight side by side with Lin Feng. They even wanted to risk their lives to stall the wasteland creature. Then, Lin Feng would be able to leave this place. However, it was already too late. The four of them were teleported out. The wasteland creature's attack that was originally aimed at Du Zhu, and the other three was blocked by Lin Feng's black dragon sword. Lin Feng bought time for Du Zhu and the other three to be teleported out. Bang! Lin Feng, on the other hand, was sent flying by the wasteland creature's terrifying attack. Half of his body exploded. If not for Lin Feng's strong physical body and his immortal divine body, that attack just now, Lin Feng would probably have been killed. Even so, the wasteland creature's attack almost killed Lin Feng. as expected of the wasteland creature. Its cultivation is really strong. Lin Feng looked at the wasteland creature with a gloomy expression. He activated his immortal divine body. His body quickly recovered to its original state. You know my identity? The wasteland creature narrowed its eyes and looked at Lin Feng with an incredulous expression. Lin Feng said indifferently, "Of course I know. I'm just very puzzled. Don't the creatures of the wasteland usually not leave the wasteland? Why did you walk out of the wasteland back then?" "Kid, is this something you have the right to ask?" The wasteland creature sneered and sent a palm strike at Lin Feng.